Mic check, mic check. All right, we got the confirmation from Bender, and one day at a time. What is going on, my brothers? How you doing today? Let me mute that. There we go. I'm not gonna lie, this one got me a little nervous. You know, I was all gung ho for it when I first put up the title, when I first got home, and now I'm like, you know what? It's a little scary. You know, talking about this stuff is a bit of a scary topic. Go ahead and transition. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for joining. One day I gotta say a special thanks for sending my information out to your sons and your brother. It's very kind of you. Very kind indeed. And very interesting to hear that yo started that you started reading the Bible as well. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a little background. Let me turn this music down just a little bit. So you probably don't know, Bender's been there from the beginning, but I was co-hosting a podcast with my cousin, Brother Maverick. His information is down in the description if you want to go check out his channel. Very smart man, very devout follower of Christ and the Bible and all that. And let's just say, long story short, that we had a disagreement in beliefs, and things didn't go very well. And I take full responsibility for it. You know, I did kind of what I do very often. I didn't voice my opinions correctly. I was very passive. I had a very Ahab spirit about everything. Bender says, I read the Bible, or read the Bible when I was 20, right from the beginning. Didn't really get too far. You know what, Bender? You're not the first person that's done that, actually, and I'm very much the same way. There was a point in time where I was like, I'm gonna read this, and I started with Genesis, and I made it like maybe 3 or 4 chapters in. And one thing that I can tell you is that it's very difficult to read the Old Testament. The Old Testament is very difficult. Even when I asked Brother Maverick about it, he said start with the New Testament, start with Matthew, and go from there. It's a bit of an easier read, and it's also a little bit more concise as far as what the message is. Bender continues to say, disagreement in level of belief. Yeah, that's probably it. Probably should have started with something later. One day said, me and my bro don't see eye to eye all the time, but that's the beauty of life. Bender says, yes, the New Testament. Yeah, so, you know, I had to be honest with myself, and I was actually, it was this book right here. If you guys haven't read it, it's hard to see here. Hang on, with all the glare. Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules of Life. Ooh. I'm not sponsored or anything, but this book right here has been life-altering. There's one rule in here, is rule number 7 or 8, I believe, that said, you own it? Absolutely. It's been a life-changing one, and I came across the rule 7 or 8 that said, tell the truth or at least don't lie. And make your bed. Make your bed's a good one as well, yeah? The mic cut out for a second. Can you hear me now? Test, check, check. All right, sounds good to me. All right, but yeah, very good, good rule, good, and it's kind of like, you know, Jordan Peterson's just one of the greatest thinkers of our time, you know, and there was a rule that said, tell the truth or at least don't lie, and it sounded very straightforward, but it's not. Once he started getting into it, kind of like most of what Jordan Peterson says, it's not very straightforward. It's not as straightforward as it sounds, you know, and I started reading it. And he was talking about basically how we tell these little lies all the time to spare people's feelings and, you know, this and that. And that's when I realized, it wasn't then that I realized it, but it hit me because I was like, you know, ever since I was little, I've basically lied to my family about what my beliefs are, right? And it was mostly because I didn't want to disappoint them, and that was Brother Maverick included, you know. If he's listening, I mean, I have nothing but the utmost respect for him, you know. But there was a point in time where he called me and we had a conversation, and he just let me have it, boy. He gave me the spiritual tongue lashing about how, the depression, I'm letting the devil win, and these tattoos, and I'm worshiping false idols and stuff like that. And this was during a time that I was really going through something, right? And that's nothing new for me. I'm always going through something. There's always something in my life happening, some kind of drama. Bender says, "Yep, literally just a sec." One day said, "Just got the book, Atomic Habits." Oh, I never heard of that one. I have to write that one down here. Atomic Habits. Who's the author? But anywho, I had to be truly. It was after reading that rule that it really hit me. I was like, I haven't truly been myself, really with anyone. Um, More of my friends I have, like Bender and stuff like that. Bender's been around for a while, and he kind of knows the struggles that I've had with like my spirituality and stuff like that. And when it came down to it, I was thinking, and I'm like, I was like, I really don't believe that Jesus was the Messiah. I'm sorry, I don't believe that Jesus was God. I don't believe in a heaven or hell. I'm more of the idea that we have heaven and hell right here on earth, right? And heaven and hell is what we make it, and that's why we as a collective have to be kind to one another, and why we have to help each other out. I actually have a personal rule of mine, which is either if make someone's life better, make everyone else's life around you better, or at the very least, don't become a burden to them. And James Clear, okay. And Bender says, it takes guts to say that, bro. I appreciate it, man. And it really, that was the thing that really, it just hit me hard, and I've just always had that. And it's not anything new. I've really like thought that since I was a little kid, since I was growing up in the church, and like I would hear these stories, and I'm like, man, some of this just doesn't make sense. Hang on one second, I'm gonna write this down. What's it called? Atomic Habits? Send me an email on Discord or anywhere. I'll gift it over, as well as a 5 a.m. club if you don't have it already. I do not have 5 a.m. club, but I will check it out. But I am gonna write down Atomic Habits. Sorry, I can't read and write at the same time. I can't talk and write at the same time. By James Clear. Yeah, I'm gonna show you right here in my notebook. So this is my journal that I take around with me to my to coffee shops and stuff like that. And all of this right here, these are all books that I have to read. And believe it or not, most of them came from 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. So these are all books that I have to look into, including Sermon on the Mount. I wrote that one in here, even though I did read it as part of it's Matthew 5 through 7. It's the sermon that Jesus gave. It was considered one of the best, one of the greatest speeches ever given. Then I also have the 12 rules written down here. This is when my journal started as something else, but I mean, yeah, I was like, I've been writing into this thing for a couple of years now, and I'm way back into here. And just today I was reading Matthew. I went through Matthew 1 through 5, and like I just took all kinds of crazy notes, all kinds of crazy notes. Bender says, but I respect you a lot for it. Most people go along to get along. It's easier. Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. And ultimately, that's what caused the issues. Because I felt this, and like I was talking to you about it before. I felt issues happening way earlier on, but I just let it build and build and build. And I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, this isn't the first time that I've had a falling out with someone who was close to me. This is the most painful one, because I consider Maverick as a mentor. Like I was like, he was the guy that I was reaching out to because I've never had a positive male figure in my life. Someone who taught me about how to be a man. And he has the closest to the life that I wanted. He has a beautiful wife. He has 5 kids. He's very devout in what he believes. He's a very hard worker, very disciplined. And for me to allow things to get to where they were, to the point where he was frustrated enough to that we had this little falling out, it's painful on my end. And like, I had to sit down, I had to reflect, take, the accountability for it. And it was because I didn't say anything earlier, and I just kind of let it build and build. I came across this post on Instagram. I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I have a hard time sleeping. And this post said, you either deal with the problem head on or you wait for it to deal with it, handle itself, pretty much. And that's exactly what's happened. And it wasn't only him. It's been, a couple of my past relationships, even with my ex-wife. This lady that I was roommates with for about a year, the last lady, Melissa, that I was dating. All of these, there were issues that I let build and build and build. And because I had that spirit of Ahab, that super passive spirit, I wasn't confronting things head on, and I wasn't saying, hey, this is what I feel, this is what I need, yada, yada, yada. And eventually, it catches up. It always catches up, and it blows up in your face. You either deal with it, or you let the pressure build until it blows up. That's what happened. Johnny Turner says, "While I disagree with you on your view about Christ, etc., it's your free will choice." Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate that. I really do. It's just one of those things that doesn't resonate with me. And I'm not saying that I'm right, not by any means, but not by a long shot. In fact, going through this whole thing, like I said, my entire life I've thought these kind of things. There's always been that little whisper in the back of my head that I could be wrong. And I'm always looking for that answer. I'm always looking to see if I'm wrong or not. And, unfortunately, there's some things that we're not going to ever know until that time comes. And by the time that comes, we're not going to be able to tell anyone else, But I appreciate you, Johnny. Catch up on notes here. Bender says, look at those notes. Psst, you are an intellectual person. I appreciate you, my friend. I try. I do my best. This is actually a journal. A lot of this started as... I don't know, maybe like up to here was like ideas I had for YouTube and stuff, and then, I don't know, just constantly journaling, a couple pictures that I drew. But more often than not, at least every 2 or 3 days, I make an entry about a page long or so. One day says, I like your journals. I got some good ones too. I'll post a pic on Discord. Journaling is king. Absolutely, man. And I love journals, especially these leatherback ones. This was actually a gift from my ex-wife, so that's like how long I've had this one. And I just never did anything with it until recently, until I started on this whole intellectual journey. Bender says, not that Maverick isn't. He's deaf. One is too. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. He's an incredibly intelligent man, and he's very studious. Like I said, he knows his stuff. Right? That's part of why I was so quiet too, was because as devout as he is, and as much as he knows, I know, like, I don't know. Right? Like, as much as he does know is as much as I don't know. So it's like I would have these questions and stuff like that, and I was like, I would have my own opinions, but I have nothing to back up my opinions. Just like the fact that I say that I don't believe that Christ was God, that Jesus was God. I personally believe that he was a philosopher, that he's probably the greatest philosopher that has ever lived, and I have no doubt that he got hung because of it. He wasn't the only one, but the greatest one that we did have. And I don't know why I believe that. It could be the devil, that's probably what most Christians would say, or it could just be me, it's I'm following my heart here, but then as the Bible says, the heart's deceitful, so you're not supposed to listen to it. But then again, at the same time, it's like I listen to it for everything else. I follow my intuition, especially like what I do at work. If I wasn't intuitive, I wouldn't be good at it, But your questioning comes from logic and science. It's not a blind thing or a quick reaction. LOL, you need the spirit of Bender. I keep very little bottled up. Absolutely right, Bender. I mean, you're kind of right in that sense, that I do need more of that spirit. And I've actually been praying for it, and like, believe it or not, even though I believe what I believe. Oh, I didn't realize I was still in the middle of a game here. I believe what I believe. Yeah, we're taking black blood so that we heal up with 12. And proceed. It looks like we're on Act 3. Oh boy, that was a great place to start, huh? No warm-ups for me. And but yeah, I've been praying that I would get this spirit. I mean, you guys noticed too, I'm not wearing my glasses. That was on purpose because I wanted you guys to see my face to show you just how genuine. I want the genuine reaction here. Like, I love wearing my sunglasses indoors. It's my thing. It's Mr. Marauder's thing. But this is a pretty serious topic. Like one day says, religion is such a touchy topic. As hard of a climb of the spire, I'm liking this mix. Yeah, same here. I mean, I have a hard time focusing on both things, so I'm probably not going to do very well on the game today. Speaking of which, I think I'm gonna go up this way. We're gonna hit up a couple camps before we hit some elites. I've never made it that high on tier 3, so we'll see how this goes. Let's just get into it, yeah. But you know, we had this falling out, and it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. And again, I take full responsibility for it because it was my fault. You know, it really was. Bender says, yes, one day at a time. I'm not afraid to talk about this stuff. Looks like you are not either. And then one day says, picking up where I left off is a loss for me. I totally forget what my deck was. Yeah, absolutely. That's where I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be. One day says, a good mix, Bender. Bender and I. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Then Bender says, SWAO, your screens. Oh, swap the screens. Yeah, I was getting to that. I was getting to that, my friend. I just more wanted you to see my face all up close and stuff. By the way, real quick, just to switch topics here, Bender said that he was looking to buy the game, possibly. It's still on sale until February 2nd. I put the link up in the chat right there. It's just over $8. It's like $8.50 or something like that. It's a very good deal, and it's very well worth it, this game. To replace the gambling chip. At the start of each combat, discard any number of cards. Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. We'll leave like that. Just the one. Tattoos look awesome too. Hey, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you. Yeah, and believe it or not, that was one of the issues that we had. You know, when Maverick and I talked that one day, you know, he had brought up the tattoos, and I'm like, you know, there's certain things that I could understand why it's a sin. Tattoos, I don't. You know, and then here's the crux of the problem that I have. One of the issues that I have is that, you know, they say that the Bible isn't translated, that it's transferred, or whatever the case may be. But I was like, this right here is the American Standard Version. I also have the New King James Version. And if you look at the verse that talks about tattoos, in the New King James Version, first of all, it's in Leviticus somewhere. The whole thing is talking about a pagan ritual where you're marking yourself out of mourning, right? Out of the loss of someone or something like that. And the Bible says you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to mark yourself. You're not supposed to cut yourself, yada, yada, yada. And literally, it's at the very end. It was like, don't cut yourself, don't burn yourself, don't do this, don't do that. In the course of mourning, or mark yourself. And then I was like, okay, well, I can see that. But then, like, in the American Standard Version, it says, or get tattoos. And it's like, all right, well, I mean, here's where those little things start coming into play. It's like, is it really a sin? You know, to mark myself up. And I can understand, you know, again, how some people can think it is. And just, you know, it is what it is. Again, I'm not saying that I'm right for getting them. I'm not saying that Christians would be wrong because they think I shouldn't get them. But it's my decision, right? Ultimately, in the end. We've had this talk about free will before, where it's like, we can do whatever we want, you know. And then free will is a whole separate topic. Why did I save that? Why did I do a save and quit? Because I'm not fully paying attention. After Christie had said the Magic the Gathering Realms wasn't terrible, I installed it free, but I'm looking for a quick game against AI, lol. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. It's one of those, if you like, start, kind of like One Day at a Time said, if you start too high up and then you come back, it's difficult to remember what you were doing, what your deck even does. But it's a great one. One Day says, you need to get this game, Bender, on your phone, to each his own with the tattoos. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I struggled because it was very heavily pushed on me that what I'm doing is a sin. And again, you know, the fact that it's like, oh, well, you're worshiping false idols, and I'm like, I'm not worshiping false idols. I mean, they're animals. They're mostly bugs. Like, you think I worship bugs for real? And I'm sure it's deeper than that, you know, but it's one of those things that don't make any sense to me. But to get back on topic here, when I was reading Matthew, so I read Matthews 1 through 5, right? And it's the reason that they say to start with Matthew. Hang on, I still got some music in the background here, don't I? Yeah, that I do. The reason they say they start with Matthew is because it's the first book of the New Testament, and the New Testament's a little easier to read, and it's the story of Jesus, you know, and it's like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I believe 2 of them were actual disciples of his while he was still around, and then 2 of them weren't exactly. It was more secondhand knowledge that they had. But they were still followers, or devout followers of him. Not really sure. Again, I'm learning all this. Gremlin Horn already clutch, yes sir. And then Johnny Turner says, speaking of tattoos, I think that falls under the old covenant, but we are under the covenant as even when Christ returns, he is marked with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. As even when Christ returns, he is marked with King of Kings and Lord of Lords. We are under the covenant. Oh yeah. Absolutely. You know, and then that's one of the things too that I talked to. I have a buddy of mine. I'm not gonna, you know, call him out or anything because I don't know if he would want, you know, his business out there. But, you know, he talks about it too. He was like, why is it such a difference between the Old and the New Testament? You know, and then there's even people who think, I read it again in the 12 Rules of Life, where someone, I forgot who it was. You know, again, I'm still learning, so forgive me. But he said that having the New Testament was actually one of the biggest detriments to the Bible, that we should have stuck with the Old Testament and stuck with those ways. And my buddy agrees. He was like, you know, at least then we know what the rules are. You know, now in the New Testament, it's like things get all wonky, and it's like, well, we can do this now, we can do that. You don't have to kill animals anymore because Jesus sacrificed himself and this and that. And there's just so much to it. It's very deep. And I'm coming at this from a very pragmatic point of view. You know, like, one of the things that Maverick really got onto me about when we had that conversation on last Sunday was the messianic prophecies, right? And I was like, I don't even know what a messianic prophecy is. And it turns out that it's like, I don't know, I think there's like 300 something of them, and Jesus filled them all. And they were things in the Bible that basically said, this is how we know that he's going to be the Messiah, right? And he filled all of these things. And again, I'm like, well, you know, I mean, in order to believe that, you would have to believe that the Bible was never messed with, you know, by human hand. And we all know that the Bible was written by humans, right? And I get it, you know, there was someone who was like, who else would write the Bible other than humans? And I'm like, well, God would, you know? One day at a time. How about them Dead Sea Scrolls? So I heard about the Dead Sea Scrolls. Actually, the pastor at the church that I've attended, he talked about them. Let's do that. Pull out another one, see what we got. Okay, italicize, that'll work. He talks about the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I'm like, you know, it's another avenue that I'm gonna have to do more research on. And that's kind of the thing, is that, like, the more research you do, the more research you have to do. And I'm like, granted, I'm not super busy. Like, I work 12-hour days, but I have 3 days off. But I only have so much time in a day, and especially so much time that I'm trying to dedicate to this heavy stuff. You know, reading 12 Rules of Life is a super heavy book. Reading the Bible, obviously, is a super heavy book, and not only that, but it's one that's not the easiest to understand. You know, even the American Standard Version, I have to reread chapters 2 or 3 times before I understand what it's trying to say. Or before I gain an understanding, or I feel like I've gained an understanding of what it's trying to say. Alright, let's end that turn. One Day says, history is written by the victors. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's one thing that I think about too. Is that, again, I don't know all the history like, you know, like Maverick does. And again, I highly respect him for it. But he, you know, I'm like, wasn't there a time where it was the Roman Catholics were in charge? Alright, well, I guess this is all we have that we can do right now. That the Roman Catholics were in charge, and they were the ones who were pushing the Bible. And, like, not only that, but, you know, I looked up, you know, so what a pagan religion it was, right? Like, I was looking, I was like, you know, a lot of the, like, the holidays and stuff like that we have were designed from pagan holidays And it was Christians way back in the day that tried to change it up to where it was more palatable for them. Like Valentine's Day was like that. I think Christmas was like that. There's a couple other ones. And it was the whole push of like trying to get people to stop doing these pagan holidays, these pagan religions. And I'm like, well, what is a pagan religion? And it turns out the definition of a pagan religion, it's basically a religion that's not mainstream. So I'm like, if it's not one of the Abrahamic religions, one of the Hindu religions, stuff like that, the ones that are real popular, that are widely accepted, then it's considered pagan. And I was like, okay, that's a little weird to me, Johnny Turner says the difference between the Old Testament law and how we ourselves are utterly incapable of keeping the law. The New Testament is about Christ's fulfillment of the law, and yet taking on the... I'm sure Johnny Turner is going to finish that statement there. The punishment we are due, and so we are freed from the burden of law and brought back into the grace of God. Yeah, and I can see that, and that's what I hear and stuff like that. But I asked Maverick about it, and I was like, why is it that it's impossible? Oh, we had a little stutter there. A little stutter there with OBS. What are you doing? Don't scare me like that, OBS. Am I still alive? Check. Yes, sir. Okay. And I was like, how is it that how is that even possible? How is that a thing that, like, an all-knowing God sees that something isn't working, It's kind of like one of the questions that I've had that I've actually been scared to ask is, like, for example, the whole flooding when Noah built the ark and stuff like that. It was, why, if God created us, okay, and he knows exactly what we're going to do before we're even born, like, like eons before we're born, he knows exactly what the beginning of our life, the middle of our life, the end of our life, he knows exactly every step that we're going to take. Why is it that he's going through and punishing people for it? You see what I'm saying? Like, in a way that seems cruel to me. And not even in a way, like, that absolutely seems cruel to me. I'm just going to go out and say it, that, like, the people of Babylon, for example, I believe that's when, that happened with the whole flood and all that with Noah. It was like, if he created these people knowing that they were going to do what they did, like the people that, the Christians chastise them for and stuff like that, say that they deserve the death, that they were sacrificing babies and raping children and all this stuff. If he knew that this was going to happen, why would he allow it to happen? And then why would he punish them for that? And like, there's Christians that use themselves as an example. They're like, oh yeah, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I know exactly what my kid's going to do. But it's like, you know what your kid's going to do the same way that I know what my dog is going to do, or like one day at a time, what your cat's going to do. You know them because you raised them, you've been with them your whole life and stuff like that. Granted, I'm not comparing kids to pets, but it's like, you know them in that sense. But the thing is that you don't really know. Like, for example, if you leave a kid in the kitchen with a bunch of marshmallows and you tell them not to eat the marshmallows, 9 times out of 10 they may eat that marshmallow, but then there's always that one chance that it's like, oh, he may not eat that marshmallow. You come back and you'll be surprised, like, oh, he didn't eat that marshmallow, I'm surprised. But it's like, you can't do that with God, right? So it's like, it's a different kind of knowing. It's like he has this absolute knowledge of what we're gonna do from beginning to end, yet he still punishes people for doing what they do. At least, again, Old Testament. And that's kind of one of the things that's really held me back from, like, being, like, super faithful. Meaver, what is going on, my brother? How you doing? One Day says, this game is perfect for live chat because of the no rush of it. Yeah, I know, right? I think I'm going to skip this one. Skip. Going to the next one. Yeah, I mean, I can let this sit. I can let this shit. I figured that's why, I would play this one while we talked about this. One Day says, is he neither able nor willing or able? Is he neither able nor willing or able? I'm not sure. I'm a little confused by that statement, One Day. But from, like I say, it's just the way that I feel about it, the way that would make sense to me is that, like, again, it just seems wrong. You know, and then like if I say something like that to a diehard Christian, they're gonna say, well, you don't understand God's plan because you're a mortal man. And I was like, I never claimed. We're gonna keep this hand. I never claimed that I knew what God knows, or that I even have any kind of inkling of what He's trying to do or what His plan is. But I'm like, you know, and again, something else that the Bible says is lean not upon your own understanding, right? And it's like, well, whose understanding am I supposed to lean on? It's like God's understanding, but at the same time, I can't understand what God understands. I can't know what God knows because He knows everything. Literally everything, since the beginning of time to the end of time, He knows everything. And it's like, all I have is my human understanding, is my monkey brain, is my ape brain, right? But, I mean, that's what He gave me. At the same time, that's what He gave me, right? So, I'm also, you know, like, is my questioning, you know, gonna get me in trouble? Because I'm constantly questioning. I'm constantly, you know, and Maverick even said the last time we talked, he was like, you know, there is a such thing as questioning too much. And I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that, because it's such a big thing, you know? I mean, religion and your belief and like what happens to us after we die and stuff like that, that's no small thing. You know, in fact, it's a massive thing. So it's like, why shouldn't I constantly question it, especially if something doesn't make sense to me? Alright, we gotta kill these exploders first, I believe. So let's do that. Draw 2 cards. I can't do anything with them, but fortunately we got that Curse of the Baal. The Curse of the Baal. End the turn then. And like, I don't, Johnny Turner says, the way I see it is we see life from a fixed point, decisions, one choice or the other. God sees all ends, all possibilities are equally possible until we as the humans fix that point in reality as a fact. Yeah, see, and I've had that thought too, Johnny Turner. And I appreciate your input. That it's like, the only way that it would make sense to me is that we have all these different possibilities, and it's like eventually we'll end up in one of these, right? But at the same time, if that's the case, then that means God's more limited than what the Bible says, because, you know, God's supposed to be unlimited. He knows everything. He sees all. He's there constantly. My bad, chat went through weird. This was the first part. Okay, yeah. We'll catch up. And you know, and like, again, Jordan, going back to Jordan Peterson, one of his talks that I heard said that the one thing that God is incapable of is having limitations, right? And that's kind of exactly what would happen if that was the case. If we had these multiple paths and like we end up choosing one of them, is that, well, in that case, then God doesn't really know what's going to happen. And not saying that makes him any weaker or anything like that, makes us any closer to him, but that does, you know, put some limitations on him. That means he's not all-knowing. You know, and that's kind of one of the things that I got, and this is really hard to say. This is really hard for me to say, but it's like, you know, one of these possibilities are a thing. Johnny Turner says, yes, he limits himself to allow our free will to choose to serve him willingly. And that's an interesting thought. You know, that he's willingly limited himself. And I guess, you know, if you put it into that perspective, then it makes sense that, you know, he created himself as a human in Jesus Christ to send himself down here as a limited, I mean, I guess he wasn't really limited, but see, but then again, you know, it's it's such a big question, and it's something that we could just keep going on and on about. Let me see, deal 8 damage to all enemies, heal HP. Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's do this. He's about to blow up. Should have did a double tap. I'll do a double tap now. Take that. Boom. Boom. 10 damage. Take care of you. Look at that. I'm doing even better now that I'm not even fully paying attention. Shuffle a wound into your pile. We're gonna do Clash. Gremlin Horn! Absolutely, one day. Absolutely. Distraction strategy. Yeah, I'm not thinking about it so much. Ooh, 3 of these jaw worms. One day, I don't think I got the rest of that message there. But yeah, that's been one of my issues with it, and it's like not like, you know, it's also like every Christian that I talk to. It's funny because like even there's all these different denominations. I couldn't tell you how many denominations there are at this point. But there's so many different denominations just within Christianity, and it's like, which one of those do we believe? Which one has it right? You know, and then not only that, but every church that I've been to, just about every Christian that I've talked to, believes in something slightly different. You know, they're like, oh yeah, well I agree with all this up until this point, and then it kind of curves a little bit. Like, you know, one person told me that he doesn't believe that it's God's will that we go through any kind of suffering, that we do it, and he lets it happen reluctantly, and you know. But then there's other people who are like, oh, it's absolutely God's will that we go through this. One day says, I keep sending it, but it won't go through. It's weird. The algorithm is holding us down. I apologize one day. You know what? Why don't you send it through Discord? Send it through Discord and I'll read it out loud. As I do. And do metallicize. There's a blood potion, a fairy, and a bottle. Oh yeah. Oh, so we even have a free death. Okay. Exhaust any number of cards and a regen of 5. Bender says, oh, if I was any kind of good admin, I would know how to override. LOL. I don't even know. Brother Maverick says, gotta follow Christ, not Christians, brother. Christians lie a lot, and I love you no matter what. Either way, you gotta follow your path. If it's Christ, you'll get there in time. And you know what, Brother Maverick? I appreciate you showing up. I really do. Again, and like, since you're here, I want to apologize. I'm gonna go ahead and take these off. I'm going to make myself big. I want to, man to man, apologize for the way that things went down. You know, I really do. And I do want to thank you because, you know, all of that kind of kicked me in the ass. And I was thinking about it all day, basically all week. I had the day off today, and I was like, I was like, what is it that I need to be doing? And it kept saying, read the Bible, read the Bible, read the Bible. So I was like, all right, I'm onto this now. And, you know, Again, I have to apologize for the way that things went down. I have to apologize for if I had you believing that I believed in a certain way that I didn't. And it's still, it's a big question, man. It's a lot. But again, I wanna thank you for being here. I appreciate your input. Bender says, too bad I'm not. Johnny Turner says, he took the form of a man, and it limits to face the shame, test, and trials as we take them. Yeah, and if you look back at it, and again, even Jordan Peterson said that Christ's story is the most tragic story out there, you know, for many reasons, you know, not including that he was betrayed by his best friend, and everyone knew that he was innocent, you know, and it was like, whether you believe that it was real, that he was actually real, that he actually existed, that he was actually God in man form, it's the most tragic story ever, you know? And if it doesn't tug at your heartstrings even a little bit, then there's something wrong with you. Maverick says, all good, brother. The only thing that bothered me was you lying to yourself. You have to be honest with you. My faith remains steady, but you're all good to go, bro, LOL. And by the way, anyone here who hasn't, Brother Maverick has a great channel. I actually have a link to his channel down below. I just looked. He's at 48,000 subscribers now. I think a little bit more than that, pushing that 50K. So clearly he's doing something right. And like I said, he's a very, very knowledgeable about this. I'm talking about a lot of this just from conjecture and like my own opinions and what I know. Maverick knows his stuff as far as the history behind it all and all that. Biggest question is, why are we here? Oh, Bender. Oh, Bender. We can go on that one for a while. I'm going to touch on that one. Beaver says, I don't know how it is in other countries, but I have a feeling that most young people in Russia do not believe in God because it's not fashionable. And yeah, that's 100% a lot of what's happening, even here in the States, is that the further we go along, the more popular it is to quote unquote not believe in God, you know. And that's definitely not where I believe in God, you know. It's just, again, my my beliefs kind of differ in other ways. And like really, when someone comes up and says that they don't believe in God, and like they're 100% sure that they don't, it's like something inside of me doesn't feel right. It's like, why, you know? And Brother Maverick actually touches on it quite a bit, where a lot of the people who come up, at least the ones that are hooting and hollering about it, they're usually angry, right? It's usually not an actual belief thing. It's usually that they believe there's a God and they just don't want to admit it, and they're actually angry at him. But that's a good point, man, and it's, you know, it's not just Russia. Let me tell you that, you know, it's definitely strong here in the States. I would be surprised if it wasn't that way in the UK as well. Brother Maverick says Jordan Peterson loves Jesus. Keep reading his stuff. Maybe you'll see something different. I've been reading the 12 Rules of Life. I'm towards the end. I'm on Rule 11 right now. It's a heavy read. It's a really good read. And you're right. He does love Jesus. He has a whole thing about. It's a whole lecture about only Genesis. I think it's free on YouTube, and it's about 12.5 hours long. It's 2.5 hours per lecture, and it's fascinating the way he dives into it. And you know, the way that he speaks about it really resonated with me. He speaks about it in a very pragmatic way. Men are men. They can get through this. Yeah, absolutely we can. Bender says, right one day. Seven, what is going on? How you doing? Sorry for being late. Never apologize for being late, Seven. Never, absolutely never. Brother Maverick says, you have to remember no matter what Christ said, please do not follow Christ if it doesn't come from your heart. Those are some of the Christ words. And I appreciate that. You know, I really do. And that was kind of the thing, was that like ever since the beginning, ever since I was a little kid, it just never really resonated with me. You know, not that I didn't feel his love or anything like that, but I'm like, there's just certain things like, I don't know. I feel like there's too much good in the world. There's too many good people to know that they're all going to go to hell if they don't believe in this one specific thing. You know, it's hard. It's difficult. It's a difficult thing to wrap my head around. And it's also, you know, it's not going to be easy. It never is, and it's never going to be the most comfortable thing either. One day says, never late here, brother. The universe sends us stars. Yeah, I mean, the universe, God will bring us together when it's the right time. Everyone's saying hello to Seven. Shalom, the home. Shalom in the home. I like that one day. I dig it. Hello, hello, hello. Brother Maverick says, you don't have to be a follower of Christ to be a host on the podcast. Your personality is what matters. I'm not the one who needs people to mirror me. I don't feel that to be necessary. I think you're in the right track. Just keep your eyes open, bro. I appreciate that. You know, I really do. And, you know, again, I said it earlier. I don't know how long you've been around. A lot of this came down, and I was actually really thinking about it hard after that first conversation we had. And I was like, man, I seem to keep having these, like, fallouts, these, like, people that are close to me, like, getting upset, you know. And I was like, really what it came down to was I've been misrepresenting myself, you know. I've been, including, like, you know, my last relationship, my wife, this lady that I was, you know, roommates with. I was like, I represented myself as someone that I wasn't. And then, especially when the depression hit, you know, like, I go through these waves. You know, I admit I have mental issues, and I get depressed, you know. And then when those happen, it's very hard for me to do the things that I feel like is myself. That's a lot of damage coming in, so I'm gonna have to do something about this here. Give me just a 1 second here. All right, so let's do that and do that. And again, I can't thank you enough, Brother Maverick, for being around. Again, if anyone hasn't, Seven, I think you especially would like Brother Maverick's stuff, his content. He's a very hard worker at what he does. He's a very strong believer in Christ. I've always highly respected him for what he believes in and how strongly he believes in it. Because I'll admit, there's not much in this world that I have that much belief in, you know. Like, there's everything, just about everything I question. I'm like, well, I don't know if I necessarily believe that, you know. Ooh, look at all those low rates, all these zeros. Brother Maverick says, and that's what really caught me off guard. I never want you to be anyone but you. Since we were children, I always knew I could count on you to be you. And that's the thing. I never really was. You know, because like I said, I've had these thoughts ever since I was a child, but I was always scared to say anything because I knew how my family was and how like ingrained into the Christian faith they were. And it was like, I don't know if that's me, you know, like I never really knew that it was me. And my whole life, I should have did strength first. My whole life's been like that, where I was like, I don't know. And like I've always been more afraid of disappointing people than I was afraid of, like, you know, like for example, like, you know, the whole heaven and hell debate, you know, like believing in Christ because it's going to save your eternal soul and stuff like that. I was always more afraid of disappointing someone than I was to end up in hell, if that makes any sense. And it's weird. It's weird. I know it is. All right, we got to get rid of you. Let's do that. One Day says, this is cool. I was waiting till Sunday to get some more STS algorithms. Sent a few other my way, but they're nowhere near as great as the... Hey, my brother, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. One Day at a time. One Day showed up just kind of randomly. Oh, you stupid curse, you. One Day showed up just kind of randomly one day, where I was streaming STS. I wasn't even planning on doing Slay the Spire that day, and he just showed up. He was like, "Oh, I love this game," and then he was like, "Oh, I love your personality too," and stuck around. And honestly, he fits right in. So I'm very glad that God sent him this way. Brother Maverick says, to be honest, I didn't really come to God until I was around your age. LOL, it's never too late, so long as you're alive. Yeah, and that's what I figured. You know, I was like, if there is a God and he's a just God, he's going to understand why I'm going through what I'm going through. You know, and like I truly believe, again, because, you know, God's infinite and all-knowing, you know, if I do end up believing the wrong things, he'll forgive me, you know. All right, let's do that battle trance. One Day says, deathbed repentance for the win. Yeah, you know, and that was always an issue that I had too. It was like, well, you know, the way that the Bible says, you know, if you really, like, basically you can be a terrible person your entire life, and then once you get to like the end, you know, you can repent, and then all of a sudden everything's all taken care of. And it's like, well, like, I don't know, that doesn't really seem fair to me. But, you know, then again, Jesus dying on the cross wasn't fair to him. So Brother Maverick says, you can't follow Christ out of fear for hell. It has to be out of love, and it has to come from your heart, bro, but only if you want to. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's not like I never wanted to. That was definitely never the case. I've always wanted to. I've always been very open to the idea that, you know, like I said, I've never not believed in God. You know, even at the short amount of time that I was a quote-unquote atheist, I was one of those that was angry at God more so than not believing in him. I was just like, you know, why are things going this way? I was just pissed off, and I think most of us go through that at one point or another. I would be very surprised if there's anyone who hasn't gone through that. There we go. Take that, jawworms. One Day says, we all getting reincarnated. Yeah. What are you coming back as? Christy DM says, whoa, no glasses. Yeah, I know, right? I did that on purpose because this is a deep conversation we're having, and I wanted my genuineness to show. A lot of people don't think it's fair, but remember, true repentance from the heart, and God knows if that repentance is from the heart, or repentance is true, then no fooling him, and there's no guarantee you'll get a chance to repent at the last second. If you get taken out in an accident, there's no chance for death, for a deathbed thing. Yeah, absolutely, and that hits me too. You know, I thought that too. I was like, you know, there's always that chance that you won't get that chance. You know. Johnny Turner says, repentance is always possible as long as the Spirit is working on you. Yeah, I agree. 100% Johnny Turner. One Day at a Time says, I'm coming back as a rich white family golden retriever. Oh, man, you're coming back with that cushy life, huh? You're like, I don't want to do no work. All right, we're gonna go ahead, do that. Bender says, hi, Christy. I apologize, Christy. Hello. Welcome to the stream. He even put that globe up there for Eco. I'm assuming it's for Eco. What is this? The Maw. Ew, you was ugly. You was ugly. Bender says, amen, Johnny. Christy says, hey, Bender, thanks for visiting earlier. Visiting? Uh-oh. You made a trip out to New Mexico. 7 says, Jesus, 300. Good Lord, this is gonna take a little bit of focus. 7 says, trials and tribulations, Mr. M. It makes you pure gold or silver, burning the dross out crucible. Burning the dross out crucible. I dig it. Trials and tribulations, Mr. M, is to make you pure gold or silver, burning the dross out crucible. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and like I was flipping through Instagram again this morning at 2 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. And like I kept coming across all these Christian posts because, you know, I follow a lot of this stuff, you know, even though I have questions. I'm not, like I said, I'm not against it, you know. Let's do a double tap with you. Ooh, we can do Clash. Perfect. That's all I got. And one of them said, you know, kind of like Maverick told me. Maverick's told me this whole time that I've been going through this, that I've been, you know, trying to build this relationship with Christ, and like, you know, considering whether Christianity is for me or not. It was basically, you know, you can have an easy life. The devil will make your life easy because it's kind of like basically being in a jail cell with the door open, you know, but you choose to stay in the cell. It's nice and easy there, you get comfortable there, but at some point it's going to be too late to step out of it. Alright, you're doing a lot of damage, so let's do Pummel Strike. Christy DM says, oh, hang on. Son of a whale from the beginning. Don't make fun of me like that one day. Christy says, LOL, he came to see the community center and the new kitchen and my house, etc. and Eco. Okay. That's what's up. I like doing that, you know. I noticed from very early on that you were way ahead of me in that, Brother Maverick says, hey, I'm going to go sleep. Got to be up at 4 a.m. Love you, man. I pray that you find the answers you need. Text me if you need anything. I appreciate you, Brother Maverick. Again, you know, like I extend my sincerest of apologies, and I'm glad you stopped by. I'm glad we can kind of hash things out. I was actually kind of hoping that you would show up today for that reason. And likewise, man, hit me up if you need anything. Johnny says, please no reincarnation into this world. One time is enough. Yeah, you see, I mean, I don't know. You know, the way I feel about it, the world is a beautiful place. It really is. You know, this earth that God has given us is very beautiful. Once you can step outside of it and look past all the bullshit that happens. Christy DM says, hello, Abba. One day at a time says, jail cell with the door open. I'll write that down. Hey, you know, I'm glad I can influence you in that way, my friend. And it's true. It's very true. It's a jail cell with the door open. It's that padded room where you're nice and comfortable, you're cozy, you're fed, but you don't go through any tribulations. You don't go through any trials. And it's like, sure, that's nice and all. You get comfortable. But is that the life we want to live? I know I sure as hell don't. Bender says, yes, it's very impressive. Bender is copying high ceilings and big windows right out. Catch you in the next stream at Brother Maverick. Yeah, absolutely, Christy. Back to what I was saying about you, is that I was very impressed. I was like, even like from the very beginning, like, I don't know, probably the second or third day I went over there when you first opened up the community center. I was looking around and I was like, you know, I thought I had something nice going. And all of a sudden I go to Christy's place and I'm like, oh my God. She's got everything. She's got the shark jaw on the wall. She's got the paths going. Made me a little jelly. I'm like, man, I need to step up my building game. 7 says, Johnny, not reincarnation, but born again, get a second chance. I like that. I like that, 7. One day says, who wouldn't choose to do life again? You know, I mean, there's people who wouldn't. Brother Maverick says, no apologies needed, bro. Just want you to do what's best for you. Later, guys, and have a good night. Hey, God bless, my brother. You have a blessed night. Have a good day at work, mañanas. Let's do a cleave. And the turn there. 7 is a second chance with the true repentance to sin. No more, and I have time with God, and I live. And his promise, his promises. Amen, Johnny. And yeah, that was another thing too, was, I came across a video, I think it was that show The Chosen, or whatever it is, the one that actually like follows Jesus and his followers and stuff, tells the story of it, and it showed him when he was a little kid, and he was basically putting this rabbi in his place. This rabbi kept asking him questions. I don't know if he was trying to trip him up on purpose, but Jesus as a 12-year-old kid, was like correcting him. He was like, no, this is actually what happened, this is what happened. The rabbi asked him, he's like, who's in Eden? And Jesus said, no one's in Eden right now. Eden's empty. And the rabbi said something along the lines of, what do you mean, how is Eden empty? And he was like, well, that's because after the original sin that God emptied it, and basically no one's in this perfect place, no one's in this paradise until God brings it back to the earth. So that may be your second chance. Me personally, like I said, this may be a little deep, but I have suicidal ideations, and maybe that coincides with the whole religion thing, but it's one of those things that I've always struggled with, because and again, ever since I was a kid, ever since I was 8 years old, I was always like, man, maybe this place would be better without me. Maybe life would be easier if I wasn't here, which is a real sad thought. It's a very sad thought, because life is precious, ultimately. And I'm glad I came to this conclusion. Whether or not you are a follower, whether you're a believer in God, whether you're a believer in Jesus and stuff like that, I truly believe that life is precious. Life is the most precious thing that we have. The only thing more precious than this life that we've been given is the life of someone who could bring another life in, which is, now we're going to go a little bit more political, which is why I'm very against like abortion, and I'm like, I understand why it's there. I understand like there's a need for it, and like I actually don't even think that it should be illegal. I think we should get back to a place where people recognize just how precious life is, I talked to this one guy. When I told him this, I was like, I don't think it should be illegal, but I 100% believe that abortion is murder, and that we shouldn't be just doing it willy-nilly for basically no reason. And he was like, well, if it wasn't for abortion, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. And like, I didn't say it, and these are the kind of things that I need to work on, just being more open about this kind of stuff. I thought, in my head, I was like, well, you may be the man that you are today now because of it, but that child's never going to have the chance to be the man that he could have been, or the woman that he could have been, because you decided to do that. And it's just, it's a tough thought, it's like, again, I don't necessarily think that it should be illegal, because I believe in small government. I believe that government should stay out of our lives as much as possible, and allow the people to do what they do. Let us run things for the most part. The government has its place, but they make too many laws, and then once you start making laws for everything, then we start creating black markets and stuff like that. That's what I'm afraid of, like, with the abortion thing. If abortions do become illegal, then we're going to end up creating a black market. Alright, next attack is done twice. 14, this and that, this and that. Second chance or no, I think I would do no better than that time around, as I would still be my same weak self, says Johnny Turner. And honestly and truthfully, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I really am. This is gonna be brutal. Let's go ahead and do this. We'll drink this. We're gonna exhaust this. Yeah. Exhaust you, because we don't need you around right now. We can apply a vulnerable, and this may save me here. Hang on. So I still have 2. What is that? Double tap. I can do 2 of 10 and add vulnerable. Yep, let's do that. Take that, ya ma. Take that, you ma. Add a card. Is there anything I want in here? This wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that one. Back to chats here. Oh, I don't even need a rest. Look at that. That wasn't an elite fight? Oh, boo. Boo, 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 boo. One day says, I'm 100% with you on the abortion issue. I appreciate that, you know, and it's one of those things. Oh, it's this freaking guy again. It's one of those things that, like, I don't talk about much, especially, you know, now that there's more ladies around, because I know ladies tend to get more sensitive about it. They see it as a woman's issue, but it's really not. It's a societal issue. But that's neither here nor there. That's a topic for another day. I just wanted to put out more that life is a very precious thing, and the fact that we're so willing to destroy it these days, especially at the beginning, it's heartbreaking, you know. 7 says, oh yes, the priests were testing the spirit. They were trying to trip you. Wait, they were trying to trip young Christ up in the temples, Mr. M. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I gathered from it. Again, I was just a quick Instagram short that I saw, but I appreciate that, 7, and I'm sure I'm gonna get there eventually when I continue to read the Bible here. One day says conservative beliefs, man, you and me are the same guy. Hey man, you want to talk about conservative belief? Again, follow Brother Maverick. You know, he puts out like a video a day, a couple shorts a week. He's very into what he does, and he's very talented. He's very good at it. He's a very knowledgeable guy. He knows his way around editing and stuff like that. Much more conservative than I am, actually. Johnny Turner says abortion are of true need, not out of just because. Yeah, and absolutely. You know, to touch back on that, I'm sure there's times where it has to happen, where it's like, well, we either do this or they both die. But the problem is, or like, you know, even in cases like the cases that people like to bring up, the incest, the rapes, and stuff like that, those happen so few and far between. You know, it's become a form of birth control. Again, topic for another day. Bender says, I agree with you on that, Mr. M. That Mr. M said, I don't like it, but I don't want to make it illegal. Yeah, you know, in my experience, you know, on my short 38 years in this world, the more you make illegal, the more people are going to sneak around your back and do it. Anyway, they're going to find another way. And not only that, but then it becomes dangerous. You know, because now they're finding back alleyways to do it. One day says, dude, Slay the Spire and abortion conversations, we're all on the cutting. Hey, you know, absolutely. And this is the world that we're coming into. You know, as much as, you know, things are crazy. Times are crazy right now. I thank God for the ability to be able to do this. To be able to come on here and speak my mind. And granted, YouTube may like, you know, block me or whatever because I've said some words and I've had some topics and yada, yada, yada. That they don't like, but it is what it is. You know, I could still do it. I still have my small following. I still have, you know, you guys, which again, kind of like I said last time, I would much rather have the handful of you that are here, and only have 250 whatever subs, and be able to talk like this, you know, more open, have that more open discussion, than worry about becoming big and getting all kinds of subs. You know, that's just where I'm at, you know. Johnny Turner says, I am not sad about it, as I know the weakness I have gained in life, but where I am weak, God can show his strength through me by helping me overcome them. Amen. You know, I truly believe that, you know, even though I do believe what I believe about, you know, the whole, you know, Christ being the Messiah and stuff like that, you know, regardless of the fact, for the long time, I've kept my eye on God. I've kept my heart next to him, and like I've known he was there, watching over me. You know, again, it's the small things. All right, it's the small things. One Day says, send me a link. I'm a big Styx Head and Hammer fan. Ever check him out, or actual Justice Warrior? I've actually never heard of him. One Day, and Brother Maverick's links in the description below there. You can go check him out. If you can't find it for whatever reason, I can send it to you then. But like I said, ultimately good content. I did enjoy my time when I was there. Again, you know, I let my own insecurities, my mental health, you know, my depression, stuff like that get the better of me. 7 says, with true repentance, Johnny, nope, God will truly guide you after burning the dross or sin out of you. You'll be more than sharp. Iron sharpens iron, written in Proverbs 27:17. Amen and true. Absolutely. You know, and that's the thing, too, is that I've always, Isaac, what is going on? How you doing, my brother? Welcome to the stream. We're having kind of a deep conversation here. We're having a deep one, so I hope you're ready. But, and yeah, iron does sharpen iron, you know, and that's one of the things that I'm looking for. I think Bender said it somewhere up there. He was like, "Hey, don't worry about it." Yeah, there it is. Don't worry, Mr. M. You got tons of friends now. We'll get past that. You know, and I appreciate that, you know, and like I'm able to lean on friends, and the cool thing about having a good amount of friends is that I can go to different friends for different things. You know, like for example, I've leaned on Maverick quite a bit for a lot of stuff, and I realized just kind of how much of a burden I was becoming on him. I didn't realize it until much later on when I sat down and thought about it. I'm like, you know what, man, I'm bothering him. I was like, I gotta back off. You know, I eventually gotta find my own way. You know, I can't be kind of like he just said right now, that you can't follow Christians, you can't follow other people to do what you're doing, to do what they're doing, to do what you're doing. Bender says, howdy, Isaac. Hope you and Ivy are doing great, and your little one too. What the heck? Your mom too. All of them. Yeah, you know, and I send that sentiment out to everyone. You know, I truly do hope everyone. We got 9 viewers, probably 9 likes, I would assume. Let me double check though. I gotta reset it. 11 likes. Woo! Look at us. Look at us go. And as far as the poll goes, it looks like, let me check it on here. Let me check it on here because it'd be easier. No one says, I try, but I don't understand. No one says, I'm not interested. We got 30% no, do not read the Bible. 70% say yes. And I'm in one of those. I just started really reading the Bible. You know, I stopped reading it after I read something in the book of Romans that I really didn't settle right with me. Like, you know, it's just I'll go through that one later. I'll catch up eventually with that one. But it just really didn't sit right with me. You know, it really felt like truly, I was like, if God really sees us this way, then he truly hates us, you know. And ever since I read that, I just kind of stopped. I was like, I can't keep going with this. And then again, I was lying not only to myself but to Maverick as well. I was, you know, saying that I was reading the Bible, and I absolutely was not. And again, you know, it's all part of just being honest with who I am, being open. Isaac says, yeah, we're all good, thank you. Seen the family today, minus the ones in France. LOL. They're going okay, thank you. Yeah, that's good to hear, man. I'm very glad to hear that. Yeah, this is probably going to be the one that takes us out. Hang on. Probably be a good time. You know, I'm gonna wait for one more turn before I use that regen potion. Why are you still here? Shut up, you giant head statue, you. Okay, take that for 0. Don't die with potions. That's a good point. And I do have this one that brings us back. It is a sin. So let's go ahead and drink this, because the earlier we do it, the better. Double tap. That means we're going to do twin strike twice. This one brings us back, so at least we'll have that. And the Snecko oil we'll have to use at another time here. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Very glad to hear that, Isaac. I'm glad everything's going okay. Congratulations on the little girl. Randomize the cost of cards in your hand. I don't like that though. Alright, so we'll do that. Should have did the vulnerable first. I fucked up, but that's alright. Okay, let's go ahead and do I can't do Clash yet without spending this. Alright, let's just drink. And randomize the cost of everything. So we can do this. Unfortunately, we can't do either Clash because we have too many skills on us. I think this one's gonna be... Well, maybe this one. Maybe Reaper. Thunderclap or Reaper? What? Yeah, I think he's got us this time. I'm gonna heal up a bit. Can't do that, unfortunately. Alright, well. That is it. Johnny Turner says reincarnation just does not fit with Hebrews 9:27. It is appointed once for a man to die and then the judgment. Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. You know, I don't... I'll be honest, what I believe happens. So again, I don't believe in a heaven or a hell. It's just one of those things that doesn't resonate with me. But I kind of believe in something along those lines, and along the reincarnation lines, where it's like, you know, we are... I feel this is what I feel. Again, I have no proof or anything like that, but that we're all connected through the universe, and I believe that once we go, our bodies will go back out there. You know, our souls will go back out there, and eventually come back in as something else, kind of like a reincarnation. But not a full reincarnation, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, you know, parts of our spirits are going to come back as other people. It's going to come back as other animals, plants, you know, that whole thing. Kind of like the closest thing that I have, and this is a really weird one, is Final Fantasy VII with I think it's called Gaia or whatever it is, or mana, the life force of the earth that the company was sucking out to make a profit of it, you know, use it for power and stuff like that. That's kind of more along the lines of what I believe. And that, you know, eventually, even after we die, you know, our bodies go away, our minds dissipate, and then our spirits go back into the life stream. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what, not what I've necessarily always believed, but kind of more recently, I really sat down and thought about it, and I was like, this is kind of what resonates with me. You know, it's kind of what I feel is what happens. And, you know, again, it's not a full reincarnation. It's kind of like a partial reincarnation. Why are you still here? I'm here because I'm strong. That's why. The Dalai Lama. You know what? I need to look into the Dalai Lama and see what he actually says. The bits that I have seen from not the Dalai Lama, but the people that follow that kind of thought process. You know, the whole higher thinking thing, the higher way of being. I can't even think of the words right now. That kind of stuff really resonates with me. Sadly, I have to go. Was flying visit. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you, Isaac. I appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate the support. 7 says, Book of Romans, when the branches are broken off, you are the wild olive tree branch, gifted to the olive tree, written in the Romans 11:17-24. You become Christ's brother, sister, and mother. Matthew 12:50. Yeah, so that's one of those things I'm gonna have to look into a little bit more to kind of fully understand it. You know, it's one of those things. Again, a lot of the Bible is like, I just don't get it. The pie is a lie. Welcome, welcome. How you doing, my friend? How you doing, my brother? We're here with a pretty deep topic. It's kind of winding down now. You know, I was very nervous to start this actually, but now that we're here, it's been rolling pretty smooth, I think. Doing all right. Meant to stop by earlier, but Eco is destroying my destroying your life. Well, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I don't want to be the contributor of destroying anyone's life. I do want to thank you, and if Christy's still here, thank both of you guys. And Sarah, Cutie Pie, for showing so much attention. I didn't think it was going to be that successful of a game. Usually it's either me or Bender are the ones that are putting all of our time into these games. Oh, wah, 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 wah. Devastation. I'm going to need a new map. Well, I mean, we put up a hell of a fight against this head guy. This floating head who's very impatient. We're going to go with Ironclad again. Doing all right. Seven says, when you are grafted onto the olive tree, you are a new creature born again, a Jew because Christ is the Lion of Judah from the tribe of the Jews. Yeah, and I appreciate your input, Seven. You know, a lot of the times, especially the biblical talk, really kind of confuses me, and I'm like, I do my best to understand it. That's kind of why, I mean, I even have these notes that I haven't even gotten into yet about the first just 5 chapters of Matthew. Really deep stuff, you know, it really is. Bender says, I'm in eco right now. I have a base reputation to uphold. The Pie says, LOL, I'm enjoying it. Just sort of replace my usual addiction for stuff. Hey, you know what? I mean, as long as you're enjoying it, man. It really, that's all that matters to me. One day says, so God can stop bad things from happening, or can and refuses to. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that, like, I know he can, and I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, well, if there's a God, then why do bad things happen? And I'm like, bad things happen to build us character, to build character within us. You know, otherwise, because we could live our lives completely passive, you know. So it's not those kind of things that I'm like, well, why doesn't he do this? Why doesn't he do that? The things that do confuse me are, like, again, you know, knowing what people are going to do, having a full 100% knowledge of what they're going to do, and then punishing them for it. That's kind of the things that's kind of stopped me from really getting involved into it. Later, Isaac. Yes, 5 grinders and 1 game. Boo, yeah. The Pie says, hiya, Abba, Bender, and one day. Says the Pie. Pie sending his love and his greetings to everyone. Johnny Turner says, yes, the olive branches are dying spiritual life / self, but when grafted into Christ, our spirit life will live on, but the physical body still dies. And it makes sense, you know. And like I truly believe, you know, that religion is a way for us to kind of find an answer for what happens after we die, you know, because there's really no greater fear than the unknown. And what's the greatest unknown is, like, you know, once you die, especially once you get, like, you know, if you're fortunate enough to have a long life and live to the end of your natural life, none of us know what's going to happen. So, like, you know, a lot of what I believe religion is people trying to figure that out, you know, at least have some kind of an answer, some kind of a hope for something. And that's what a lot of people say. They're like, okay, well, clearly our minds go. A lot of the times, if we do live to the end of our lives naturally, it's our bodies go, our minds first. Usually it's first our minds start to dissipate, and then eventually our bodies will go. But what happens to our spirits, you know? Because someone made an interesting point. They said, if you look at it, like, just like Christianity, and there's a lot of the Trinity that goes around, not only in Christianity, but it's like God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. And then as human terms, it's mind, body, spirit. There's several other things I don't know off the top of my head, but you know that there's something about that Trinity. And it's like, so we know what happens to the body, we know what happens to the mind, but we don't know what happens to the spirit necessarily. And a lot of, you know, that's where a lot of religions come from, is people trying to figure this out. One day at a time says, the bad times are gifts. I believe that. Yeah, and I mean, it's one of, like, you can't get stronger without bad things happening, you know. Like, you can't build bigger muscles if you're not in the gym lifting weights, you know, basically like tearing your muscles. They're not going to get bigger and stronger. You're never going to get better at something if you keep quitting, which is something that I've had an issue with basically my whole life, is that I'll start something, not really get fully into it, or even, like, you know, I want to get fully into it at first, but then, like, I get embarrassed or something like that and I walk away. Not so much these days, I'm doing a lot better with it, with actually like sticking to stuff. But it is. You need the rough times. You need to lose. You need to have things that strengthen you. And so again, like I've never. I should say, I don't blame God for letting bad things happen or even making bad things happen, because we need it. 7 says, Mr. M, you must ask the Holy Spirit will help teach you. I have the Holy Spirit. I was not like this before. Pray and ask the Holy Spirit to help. And that's what I'm doing. Like I said, after this whole thing that happened with Brother Maverick, I guess it's not really a falling out because, we did make up for it. There's that misunderstanding that I had with Brother Maverick. After that, I really started getting deep into the book, which I'm going to go over my notes here in a second. Johnny Turner said, think of God as the father that buys us a new house when we move out, but if we party and destroy it, who's responsible for the repairs, God or us? I say it's us. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And that's something that Brother Maverick touches on quite a bit too, is that, a lot of people... He believes a lot of people who aren't Christian, or at least who don't believe in some kind of God, some kind of higher power, are people who don't want to take accountability for their actions. And in a lot of ways, that's true. There's especially these days, there's a good amount of people who don't want to take accountability for their actions. And I mean, that's why there's so many like funky ass activist groups that are sitting around trying to make us believe that, men can be women, or being super overweight is healthy, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's one of those things. I personally, especially the older that I get, I started taking accountability for everything in my life. If you guys haven't read it or listened to it, Jocko Willink has a book called Extreme Accountability. And I listened to it on audiobook. I'm going to have to listen to it again eventually. It's a really good one, and it talks about not only the things that are in your control, but even things that aren't in control. You need to take accountability for it. And I do the same thing. I started doing that with my massage. I'm like, because a good amount of my income is tips, is gratuity. And I've gotten to a point where it's like, well, if this person doesn't give me a good tip, or if they don't tip me at all, then there's something that I must have done or something that I didn't do to deserve that tip, Whereas it used to be, and like, I used to think, and a lot of the people who I work with are like, oh no, they're just assholes, they're just cheap, they don't want to tip, this and that. And that could be the case, for a lot of them, some of them, all of them, a portion of them, whatever the case may be. But if you take accountability for it, even if it is their fault, even if it's not your fault, it does nothing but make you stronger, right? It's like, okay, well, this person didn't tip me well, so what can I do next time to get that tip? Maybe I have to work harder. Maybe I have to do more work on the feet or something. One day at a time. I believe the soul enters the body at conception. Oof. Yeah. I'm right there with you. And that's the whole argument again with the whole abortion thing, is that when does life actually start? And I'm with you. As soon as that egg is fertilized, I believe that being has a consciousness, has a soul. So even if you get rid of it at the very beginning, even if you take the pill for it, you're already messing up one of God's creations, which is, and it's sad. It's sad. 7 says, the testing period that is written in Job, people are dead/sleeping, but brought back, written in Matthew 27:53. This happens again, Ezekiel chapter 34:37 soon. Yeah, absolutely. Again, those are all things that I haven't read. I haven't read the book of Job. I know the story, and honestly, that's one of the stories that really upsets me, because I understand that Job went through what he did. I understand the meaning of the story. But if you look at it, and I could be wrong, again, I'd have to go read through it, but it seems like the story of Job was just God trying to prove a point to the devil, right? It was like you put him through all this stuff, you killed his family and stuff like that, his kids, all of his livestock, gave him disease and stuff like that, just to prove a point to the devil. And that's what really upsets me. Now, again, this is my monkey brain going through this. I'm not God, so I don't fully understand. I'm going to have to read it again and go through it. I'm sure I'm going to have some kind of notes about it. One Day at a Time says, never attribute anything to malice. That may be ignorance. Yeah, exactly. And we also got to understand that ignorant, because a lot of people use ignorance as like a negative term, But really what ignorance means is a lack of knowledge. Like for example, someone doesn't hold the door open for you, when you're walking into a store. It's not necessarily that they hate you or they think more highly of themselves or anything. They just don't realize you're there. They may not even think about it. Maybe they weren't raised that way. Just stuff like that. Johnny says, if I want a better, it is us that must put forth the work for it, because we do not do well when we are given things freely. Yeah, absolutely, and it's even true in business. I learned this with my massage business. My mom even talked to me about this, that if you give stuff away, or even give it away cheaply, people don't appreciate it. I learned this with when I was in massage school. I'm going to start this game up real quick before I get too far ahead of myself. Hello again. Hello, land whale. Choose. I don't want to take 24 damage. I think I'm going to do lose your starting relic and obtain a random boss relic. Let's try that. Risk reward. I wish you said more. Oh, whale lady. Do you know her name? One day, do you know the whale lady's name? 7 says, soon that is why all things happen in Israel 7. Front Wars is written, Holy Bible, Matthew 24, now is happening. Kingdom versus kingdom. Texas governor versus White House Supreme Court border. Yeah, that's another thing too about the whole biblical prophecies and stuff like that, and people looking at it. It's like, it seems like there's always something that's going on that's according to the Bible. Like if you look at like things that have happened through history, it's always like, oh yeah, well this is happening in the Bible, this has happened, that means the end times are near, yada yada yada. It's always been that way, where you can always equate something to what's going on in the real world to what's happening in the Bible. And there's like, I think, again, my brain, what is this? Whenever you lose HP, draw 1 card. Oh, that's not the worst. That's not the worst. I'm like, is it more coincidental? Not coincidental. I don't think anything's really all that coincidental. I think it's more humans live in a pattern, right? Like we tend to kind of do the same things. History repeats itself. That's where that saying comes from. Is that history repeats itself. So I believe that stuff that happened in the Bible, of course it's going to happen again. Considering that the Bible is the oldest record of anything that's ever happened to humans. That's just kind of my thought on that. And why I have a hard time turning into, looking at like the end times, signs for the end times and stuff like that. I'm like, there's always signs for the end times. We're always right next to an apocalypse, I'm protesting pro-Palestine and pro-Israel. Yeah, see, and that I don't even get. Like, that's one of those things. That's one of those things where it's like, I don't even know why any of us, especially us here in the States, I don't know where you're from, 7. But, here in the States, it's like people get so bent out of shape about wars that are happening somewhere else. Like, I get being involved. I get wanting to know what's happening. I get, all of that. But getting involved to the level that some of these people get involved at, where they're actually like fighting each other, like literally fist fighting each other because of their opinion, one way or another. That cacao blue. Oh, come on. You gotta cut me some slack. I've been talking all night. Cacao! There we go. I legitimately almost did that at work the other day. Oh, blew my headphones out. I thought you were insulting me. I even gave you a louder one. My bad. Johnny Turner says, I fully agree the time of reckoning will come like a thief in the night. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things. You can sit and you can ponder and you can think. Put all these signs together. You're always going to see signs that is going to happen. And it's one of those things, if it happens, it's going to happen when it happens. And there's going to be no, like Johnny Turner says, there's going to be a thief in the night. One day says, I'm really sure we are in a simulation. Ooh. Yeah, I hear that a lot. And I'm like, I don't know. It feels too real to be a simulation. You know, honestly, for the whole simulation theory, I'm like, I really like Rage. Rage is one of my favorites. We're going to take that. For the whole simulation theory, I feel like what we have is too beautiful. Like, a lot of the stuff, like, humans are super creative, but a lot of what we have, humans couldn't even come up with. I'm going to go with combusts. And that's all we got money for. Goodbye. And proceed. I find the simulation theory stimulating. Yeah, and a lot of people do. You know, there's been that whole simulation where we're stuck in a simulation thing for a long time now. People have talked about, you know, we're in the Matrix. All right, let's hurt both of them. Oh, these are the showers, not the growers. The call blew my headphones out, and you did it twice. Hey, man, I thought you were calling me out, okay? I had to prove myself. I had to prove that I had the cacao within me. Like I said, I actually almost did that at work yesterday in the middle of the break room. And there's actually this really pretty lady that started working with me there, and I was like, ooh, hey, girl. But she was on the computer doing something, and I was on my phone, and like I saw that bird come up, and I almost did the cacao. I was like right in front of her. That would have been embarrassing. Although that may have been a conversation. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Johnny Turner says, well, when on one side seeks the genocide of the other, fistfights are at the very least expected. I mean, maybe to them. You know, I don't know. I guess I'm like, for me anyway, I was like, it just kind of seems contrite, you know, like pointless for us to fight about it here, especially like to that degree. And it's like most of the people who are doing the fist fighting don't even know like what's really going on. You know, they don't know like what's happening. It's kind of like the same thing with the whole Russia-Ukraine war. It's like y'all are hooting and hollering about all this shit, but you really don't know. All you know that what's happening is that there's a war going on. You're not over there. You're not involved in this conflict. But you want to have such high opinions about it that you're willing to fight each other for it. It's kind of ridiculous. You duck into a small hut. Inside, you find what appears to be a forge. The smithing tools are covered with dust, yet a fire roars inside the furnace. You feel on edge. I can upgrade a card in my deck. We will do that. What do I want to upgrade? Rage? 5 block. Ooh. Or combusts. Deals 7 damage. I'm going to go with Rage. Rage. Let's do Rage. I think I'm going to rest because we took a bit of damage, and without that healing relic, which was probably not a great idea to get rid of. 7 says his family was not going to change, so he replaced them with his friends. Didn't have the same values, so God took them away also. His riches, financials were taken away from him to see if he was truly devout, but returned all to Job 2 times more. Yeah. Yeah, see, and again, you know, 7, going back to the Job thing, I get that, like, you know, like they gave him more, and it was like, you know, his family wasn't going to change, but the problem for me comes in that God already knows they're not going to change, you know, and like, in fact, he created them knowing that they weren't going to change, yet he still punishes them in that way. It's, you know, it's one of, if you take these things literally, if you analyze things the way that I do, maybe I analyze too much. You know, but I'm like, he already knew all this was going to happen, and yet these people still get punished for it. That's the part that seems cruel to me, right? Where it's like, he knows 100% that they're going to be stuck in their ways, they're going to do what they do, they're always going to be like that, they're never going to change, they're never going to be a believer, whatever the case may be, yet they're still punished for it. I mean, it's almost like they don't even have it, and they have a chance. I mean, everyone has a chance. But you know, it's a difficult thing to wrap my head around. And maybe I sit here and I'm like, well, maybe it's one of those things I'm not supposed to understand. You know, but then again, my monkey brain starts churning, and I'm like, well, is it like, is that's it's just not right, you know? To me, it seems like it's not right. All right, let's get the combust going. I saw someone laughing. Y'all laughing in the chats. I dig it. Thank y'all for being here, by the way. You know, I've been doing all this talking this whole time. I'm very, very, very grateful that y'all are here. We got 12 likes on this one. This is, you know, I mean, it's crazy. You put in, you're talking about the Bible, and I got 12 likes already. Just kind of shows me that people want to know. You know, and I know there's probably a couple of my viewers that stepped away because they're just kind of not interested in this thing, which is fine. You know, everyone has their own things. I haven't always been into the Bible myself. One day says, I'm on my second divorce at 37. These guys are eating me alive. Thank God I have this PLE. What? In his image. Return to monkey. Thank God I have this place, maybe? You know, I'm very sorry to hear that one day. You're on your second divorce. Like, you and I are the same age. And I have had one divorce. One divorce that ended in 2020. We were together for about 8 years. And things obviously just didn't work out. And I've kind of been single ever since. I'm looking now, boy. Let me tell you, I've been looking for a Mrs. Marauder. And I think she's close. I'm starting to keep an eye out. I'm back on the dating apps, but like I go to coffee shops a lot. That's kind of my dig these days, especially doing my reading and stuff like that. There's been a couple cute ladies that I've noticed I caught their eye. Okay, I may be overthinking this, but there's this young lady that she's kind of had my eye for a little bit, you know, and I never really talked to her. And then today I went there early in the morning and I just ordered a normal coffee, you know, and like she asked me for my name and I didn't think about it till later, but I was like, I'm just getting a drip coffee. They never ask for your name for the drip coffee because, you know, they just fill up the cup and hand it to you. But she asked me my name and I was like, okay, yeah, I was like, I'm Gabriel. And like, you know, of course, you know, she asked my name. I asked her, I was like, what's your name? And I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm digging too into it. Maybe I'm not digging enough into it. But long story short, we know each other now. And we'll see where that goes. Return to Monkey 7 says, I also read in the Holy Scriptures, you will be healed from all illness and be complete when you return to Israel, and Israel becomes greater Israel, with all lands promised by the Holy Scriptures. Yeah, and you know, that's one powerful thing about the Bible and the stories of the Bible is that you will be rewarded for the sacrifices that you've made and for believing what you're supposed to believe, you know. So if that's really how it goes down, in the end, we will be rewarded. One day at a time says, thank God I have this place. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I mean, we are more than blessed to have you here, my brother. Again, you know, it's a very small community that I have here. Some more talkative than others, which is perfectly fine. I mean, I appreciate everyone being around. And you fit right in, which is awesome. 7 says, Job's lessons is not for God's benefit. Job's lesson is all for man to learn from. Yeah, and I get that, you know, and a part of me, again, the monkey brain part is like, what is that lesson though? Is it that we have to go through that kind of trouble? And not even us, you know, not even really, like, I don't mind the fact that he put Job through all that, because he knew that Job was gonna stick around no matter what. But it was like, you really had to kill his family, you really had to kill his kids and stuff like that. Not his wife though, which someone made a funny comedy skit about that. I'm not gonna do it justice, but they were like, they killed his family, they killed his crops, they killed his animals, they gave him all kinds of disease, But they left his wife around. He was like, yeah, he was like, no, trust me, I know what I'm doing. We're trying to make this guy miserable. One day says, there's a girl at a corner store I go to all the time. I have been dying to ask her name. I'm going to introduce myself tomorrow. Hey, you know what? You do it, my brother. Absolutely. I like using the, just, hey, what's your name? That's kind of a tip that I've heard, is that if you ask their name and they give it to you, but then they ask yours in return, then that means that there's something a little bit more going on there than just being kind, just being a nice person. Which is one of the things that I struggle with, ladies. I like how we're going from the Bible to ladies. That's one of the things that I've struggled with, ladies, my whole life, is like, I'm not sure if they're just being nice, if they're just being kind, or if they're actually like kind of enemy, if they like the idea of me. Like the idea of me. Someone's going wild, going buck wild with those hearts and those hundreds. I love it. I appreciate you. Metallicized. Definitely. I like metallicized. Johnny Turner says, thumbs up, go for it. Best of luck. Yeah, absolutely, man. Just do it. Fight all the inhibitions that you have. And I can tell you this, man. This is one of the things that God has been telling me. Like, I've been seeing there's a lot of beautiful ladies out there, okay? Like, once you get away from the screen. Ooh, Red Skull, what do you do? While your HP is at or below 50%, you have 3 additional strength. Jesus, we'll do it. We will do it. Yeah, let us know right away. But yeah, try that. Ask her name, and if she asks yours in return, then you know there may be something there. But yeah, like I've been hearing the calling from God. Like I'll be at this coffee shop and I'll see some young, very pretty lady that I'm attracted to, sitting there reading a book or writing in a journal like I'm doing, maybe even reading the Bible. And like I get this voice in the back of my head, just go talk to her, go say something. And then every time without fail, I talk myself out of it because I'm like, I don't know what to say. I don't want to bother her. And a part of that is the culture that we've grown up in, that we've come to, the whole Me Too thing, and like hearing so many ladies talking about, oh, we don't need men, we don't want you approaching us, just leave us alone. But more than that, it's just that fear of doing something you're not comfortable with, and you just got to get comfortable with it, Bender has a hilarious story he likes to tell me. I think it's from a movie that he watched, where these two guys go to a mall, and the one dude, he's like a ladies' man, he talks to everyone, and he goes to like all the girls, and like, I don't know, 15, 20 of them, and ends up getting one number, and one agrees to go out on a date with them. And the other guy's like, man, you just got rejected all those times and only got one number. He was like, yeah, one number out of 15. Those are great odds. And I'm like, damn, is that what I got to do? I got to put myself through that kind of embarrassment. But it's true, it's true. You just gotta harden that callus. You gotta get used to rejection. And I keep telling everyone, because I'm looking for the next Mrs. Marauder. I'm looking to start a family. And again, going back to the Bible, I was like, it's biblical. We're supposed to reproduce, right? And like, I really feel this calling to start a family, to bring a child or two into this world, maybe 3. And oh, that means I can't attack now. So I've really been feeling that. Oh, and I have nothing to do. Oh, come on. One day at a time says, my old best friend used to do that. Yeah, some guys it just comes more natural to. One random power card. All right, well, you know what? We're going to do this. Demon form. And it costs 0. All right, you're about to get a world of hurt in this next turn. World of hurt. Bender 24K says, my other fact of wisdom is ladies very rarely get upset if you ask them out. Very rarely. Yeah, and it's, if you listen to social media, that's not true. There's so many like ladies, so many dudes that have these horror stories of going up to ladies, and not only do they just like turn them down, but they turn them down in a very harsh way. Even if it's just like they give them this disgusted look or whatever the case may be. But you're right, Bender. Like absolutely. Like I've never necessarily hit on a lady. I've never gone. I wouldn't say never, but rarely have I gone that far. But even when I have, it's never been to where they were upset about it. They were like, oh, if anything, they were touched, and they didn't want to hurt my feelings, so they would let me down easy. That sort of thing, And so you're right. You're absolutely right. They don't. And if they do get mad, that's another thing that I've heard too. I think Bender was the one that said it, that if they do get mad at that, then there's not a lady you want to be with anyway. There we go. We heal up a bit. Johnny Turner says, honestly, I'm too afraid to try again. Past attempts have been too painful and linger still. It's a tough one, Johnny. It really is, especially because we've come into such, a soft world where the roles are kind of shifting. More ladies are becoming stronger, men are becoming weaker, and even with those roles shifting, it's still put mostly on the man to do the approaching and to do all the first steps. And not only that, but it's becoming harder and harder because a lot of ladies are expecting a lot more with offering a lot less, if that makes sense. Like for example, I met this chick on Bumble, and we actually had a talk on Sunday, talked to her on the phone and stuff like that, and I was like, I haven't heard from her since, and I was like, do I really want to put in the effort when she hasn't really put in any effort? And that's kind of the thing too, is that a lot of them kind of, maybe not a lot of them, maybe not all of them, maybe just the ladies that I've run into seem to expect more and offer less. Like they're really not putting themselves out there either. They're not. It used to be where actually more often than not the ladies would do not necessarily the approaching, but they would give the first signals, right? They were the ones that would drop the handkerchief and in front of the dude, and then basically give the dude that chance to approach them. So it was those choosing signals, Nowadays we really don't get that. What's funny though is that I've gotten the choosing signals quite a bit. But it's one of those things. I'm a dumb boy, and I really don't realize it until like later on. I was like, I think about it when I go home, and I was like, she liked me. I was like, she was kind of hitting on me. She gave me that smile and stuff. One day at a time says, nothing like keeping family name going. My 3 sons and 2 daughters deep. I think the last name shall go on. Hey man, that's what's up. Wow, 5 kids. Yeah, you're right up there with Maverick. I think you and him will get along swimmingly, because he has 5 or 6 kids himself, and that's awesome, man. Congratulations. Send my love to the family. The Pie is a Lie says social media is being used as a reality, and it's so far from it. Sad. Yeah, very, very true. Very true. Social media is not anywhere near what reality is like. That's for damn sure. Not even close, but a lot of people are looking at it that way. They look at people that are online, they judge them. They judge their own life based off of what these people are doing online, and that makes them depressed. It's tough. It's a tough thing out there. Johnny Turner said, I have long made peace with being the last of my line. Hey, you know what, Johnny? I wouldn't count it out, man. I really wouldn't. You know what you should do is you should put it in prayer. You really should. You should put it in prayer. I'm starting to believe more in a manifestation type thing, where if you really want a lady, you really want to start a family, start praying for it. More than that, start becoming the husband that you should be. Right? Like, think about the kind of lady that you want, and then start becoming the man that's going to attract that kind of lady. That's where I'm at right now. I'm thinking, I'm probably still single now because I just haven't been the man that I'm supposed to be. I'm still questioning a lot of things. I'm still questioning my faith and stuff like that. I know that I want a woman, and honestly, preferably, I would have a woman of faith. I would be with a woman who's a follower of Christ. Just because I think they have more of a straight head on their shoulders and they know what they want. They tend to be more old school, a little bit more conservative, and that's what I'm looking for. So in order to attract that, I'm starting to try to be more like that. But in order to do that, I'm having to get through a lot of the feminine ways that I was raised. I was raised by my mom and my older sister, and my father was around. My father was around, but I'll be honest. Not to put him too much in a bad light, but he didn't raise me to be much of a man. Looking back on it now, you know. 7. Oh wait, no. One day at a time says the worst she can say is no, bro. Hi, I'm Albert. Her, ew. What do you want? 7 says all this happened during Second Exodus when lost tribes returned to Israel after 7 front wars happened: Gaza, West Bank, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, Yemen, and Iran. Return of Elijah. 2 witnesses appear to fight Israel. Yeah, I mean, okay, I appreciate that information. I have not much more to add to that because I do not know. I haven't gotten to Exodus. I'm still only on the first 5 chapters of Matthew, and that's where I'm starting. The Pie is a Lie says, the most recent ex, we knew each other for a few years, and she was sad that her girlfriend was dodging her. Then she mentioned she got some new piercings. I asked if I could see them. Shirt came... Hey, man, however it works, right? However you got to get there. I'm not gonna lie. I've had similar situations like that, but hey, congratulations. You know, sometimes it happens like that. You know, it's funny because most of the people that I talk to a lot of ladies, because you know I just happen to work with a lot of ladies, and a lot of them say that it's basically they're the ones that did the approaching first. You know, like both of my tattoo artists were the ones that made the move on their boyfriends, and now they're in like committed relationships. You know, a lot of the ladies that I talked to at work, it was either the same way. It was like, oh yeah, I saw him and I knew that he was the guy that I wanted. I like Blood for Blood. Blood for Blood becomes a really cool one. So they're the ones that made the first move. But unfortunately, not all of us have that luxury, right? Like, still more often than not, it's up to us as the man to go out there and make that move. And it's scary, it's terrifying. The Pie is a Lie says, but that's not a normal situation. It happens, brother. It happens, and I've had similar stories, especially in my high school days. 7 says, you know what the other witness is? The second witness overcome the enemies of Israel during the 7 Front War. We take their land over, make it part of a greater Israel. Just pay attention to the news. Second Exodus begins in the next 2 months. All right, well, I mean, I'll do that. You know, I'm still in this process of just trying to figure out what the hell I'm even reading when I read the Bible. All right, this looks bad. Should I do the block? There's a lot of damage that's going to be coming in if I don't. 5, 10, 15, 16, 18. I can block 5 of that. Oh, I can block 10 with abilities. Let's do that. Oh, 20. Perfect. I forgot I played Rage. That works. One day says, don't call yourself out, Johnny. If you believe you deserve it, the universe will serve it. I like that. If you believe you deserve, the universe will serve. 'Tis a good one, my friend. You're full of good anecdotes. Ooh, look at all that health. Beautiful. We'll go ahead and end it there. 7 says, Mr. M, the promise of a wife in the Holy Bible scriptures, you will not have one wife, but 7 God has chosen for you. God wouldn't give you bad wives. Well, I am divorced, but I do stand by the fact that she wasn't a bad lady. Things ended poorly, and kind of the whole accountability thing, like I'm looking back on it, she had her problems that I complain about, but honestly, had I been the man that I know now I should have been, I don't think she would have left. I think there'd probably be a good chance that we'd still be together. Yeah, and as far as gaining 7 wives, I don't think I need that many. I don't think I need that many. I would be happy with just 1. In fact, I don't know if I can handle 7. I'm like, you ladies are crazy. You ladies are crazy. Johnny Turner, disrobe in front of you. Either they are interested or you're deeply friend zoned. Yeah, and that's a really good point there, Johnny. I even heard that like they're either into you sexually or they feel so safe around you because you're friend zoned, and that's where you definitely don't want to be. That was actually one of the most painful times with my ex. She had did that. She came over back to the apartment to take a shower and get some of her stuff or whatever, and she was just walking around butt ass naked, even though she already knew she was with this other dude. She was actually living with them. Not to put her business out there or anything, but that really hurt. You know, and that's when I really knew that things were over. I was like, yeah, this is not good for me. But it worked out in the end, you know. I've learned a lot. You know, someone said when ladies are hurt during the breakup, they go and find another man to sleep with. But when men are hurt, they deal with the pain and then they tend to grow from it. And I don't know how true that is, but that's exactly what happened with my relationship. One day at a time says, damn, you Slay the Spire making us do math. Dear Lord, please don't give me 7. Please don't give me 7 of them. I don't need that. I don't need that kind of drama. That's funny. Johnny Turner said, one would be more than sufficient. Absolutely. You know, and it's funny too, because like, you know, ladies want to talk about, and again, social media and all that, but they want to talk about how men are just like cheaters and stuff like that. And it's natural. It really is natural for men to want to spread their seed. You know, there's a lot of people that like have done these research and stuff like that, and I was like, we are monkey brained. You know, we're animals deep down. And yeah, like, you know, sex is something different for men than it is for women. Although that's quote unquote changing, it's really not, because the whole sexual liberation of ladies, it's a whole other topic. Again, another day. I actually just read something about it in my 12 Rules of Life. Let's go here. Pray about what I'm sharing. Pray about what I'm sharing with all of you who are still here. Yeah, absolutely. And like, you know, we appreciate it. Don't think that we're like, you know, shunning you or anything like that. It's just, I don't have much more to add. Upgrade all cards in your hand for the rest of the combat. Discard any number of cards, then draw that many. You know what? I'm good. We'll just do this. I'm going to take out Slimo first. One day says she belongs to the streets. Yeah, you know, I mean, like I said, things, it's one of those things. It got to a point where it was like basically too late. You know, it was like by the time I realized that there was an issue happening, it was too late to do anything about it. She was already 2 feet out the door, didn't want to have anything to do with me. By the time I got to where like, hey, I will do anything to keep this together, she just wasn't having it, you know. And again, like I said, looking back on it, I can't blame her. Now that I know what I know about life, about what I was supposed to do as a husband, I wasn't a good husband. You know, end of story. Now the way that she went about it, that's completely different. I'm like, you know, she really did me dirty, and it's actually the whole reason why I don't talk to her anymore. You know, there's times that I miss her, and because she was a real cool lady to talk to. You know, she was real solid. Let's do this. Damn you. All right, well, he's gonna be doing something else, so we'll just go ahead and strike you. Do that. How's that sound? Sound good? You know, she was a real solid lady. You know, she was pretty easy to talk to. We shared a lot of the same views and stuff like that. And even the bit of time like after the divorce that we were talking, things were good. You know, but she would just like mention her husband and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, you know, I really don't want to hear about this. Or her new man. She eventually married him. Found that out through through YouTube when she followed my channel, and I was like, oh great. But you know, it is what it is. That is life. And again, had she not gone about it the way that she did, we'd probably still be friends. But, you know, I got to a point, and I even told her, I'm like, you know, I was like, with friends like that, who needs enemies, you know? With friends who are willing to hurt you that hard, especially someone, I mean, she was my best friend, you know, we were together for 8 years. We knew each other in and out. Supposedly, anyway. We knew a lot about each other anyway. We're gonna do that and proceed. 7 says, want the scripture at one day at a time, written in Isaiah 4:1. Here's another scripture Christ said, scriptures cannot be broken, written in John 10:35. Amen and amen. You know, my whole thing with the scriptures and all that is, especially when you start throwing out a lot of them, it's like, all right, like they just kind of get too heavy, and it's like there's so much information in there that it's hard to keep track of just one thing at a time, or not one thing. It's hard to put it all together, you know. Especially with 7, I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you do as far as putting it out there and like letting us know what the scriptures say and stuff like that. When you do, it's like, oh yeah, Matthew and Galatians and Luke and this and that and this, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, it's a little too much information, you know. I tend to get overloaded. All right. And I don't think I'm the only one, you know, especially because the Bible's so difficult to understand. I know you said you've read the Bible like 7 times front to back, and that's awesome. That's amazing. By the way, we got 8 watching, 13 likes. Wow. You know, I mean, that really says something. I don't know the last time that I had 13 likes during the stream. So I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate everyone here greatly. But yeah, 7, like I said, I know you said you've read the Bible several times, cover to cover, and that's highly impressive. It really is. Don't think I'm discounting that at all. All right, we're gonna do this. Upgrade this one so that we can block a little bit more. Block a little bit more. We're doing a combust. He's gonna do a lot of damage to us. Do that. No, he's not going to do a lot of damage to us. Johnny Turner says, to my understanding, Adam had one wife. Christ's wife is the church. So one wife for me. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's all I want. That's all I need. You know, I keep telling a lot of people, like, you know, my clients bring it up because, like, you know, they find out that I'm a youngish single guy, that I'm divorced, and, you know, I tell them, I'm straight up about it. I'm like, yeah, I want to get married again. A lot of people are surprised by that. They're like, oh yeah, because like a lot of people don't want to get married after they've been, you know, so hurt. And I'm like, you know, I didn't at first. I didn't for a while, but then I sat down and I thought about it. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Something needs to give. You know, and then like it hit me one day. I was like, yeah, I want to get married. I want to get married and actually do it right this time. Bender says, OMG, I have been playing Eco this whole time. Shallow Bender. Hey, I mean, I'm sure you and Christy and the Pie are all super deep into it right now, and I don't blame you one bit. You keep doing it. I mean, that's what I have the server for. Which, by the way, if any of you play Eco, feel free to join us. I'll give you the information if you'd like. Alright, let's do a couple defends. We're actually going to do this one even though we're going to take a bit of a hit. We still have 1 left. I don't think 6 damage is worth taking 3. Plus whatever we're going to take on top of that. 7 says, during second Exodus, we will be tested in the wilderness. Who is waiting in the wilderness to help test you? Please know your scripture and walk in the Spirit at this time. We appreciate that, 7. I can tell you for myself that I'm definitely trying. Looking at the polls, we have 57% say yes, they do read the Bible. 36% say no, they don't. And 7% says, I try, but I don't understand it. Which that probably should have been my answer, is that I'm trying, but I really don't fully understand it, because it's difficult, man. It's hard to read the Bible, and to even the American Standard Version. It's like I have to read it so many times in order to get any kind of an understanding of what it's trying to tell me. All right, we're gonna do 2 Iron Waves, get a bunch of Heelys, and a Strike. Bam. That should block it all. At Mr. Marauder, your base is wicked cool. Hey, I appreciate you. It's small, but she likes it. It's a work in progress, you know, and lately I haven't been putting as much time as the rest of you guys. You know, like I said, especially Chrissy's base, man. I'm super impressed by that one, and I'm like, I gotta get up on my game, bruh. This lady's showing me up. I haven't seen Minimax, but I have seen the tunnel that he's digging. That's super impressive too, just to put in all that work, just to make a tunnel to drive through. Mighty impressive, y'all are. Okay, we're gonna upgrade this one, do a little bit more damage. We're gonna take a lot of damage from this guy here, but that's okay. We're also gonna do a good. Oh no! I made him curl into a ball. Take that, asshole. I finished my garage. Ooh, you have a garage in game? I didn't even think about making a garage. I'm still stuck in the Stone Age. Johnny Turner says, "Don't feel bad, Bender. I have been hauling ore this entire time on EVE Online." Hey, you know what, man? I'm impressed. Once again, I'm impressed by your ability to go back to that game even after what happened, even the losses that you took. But I guess that's the whole purpose of EVE, right? Is that you win some, you lose some. Seven says, "Just look back at stream, my friend. It is a beautiful message for you and me and everyone who truly believes." Amen. And again, we all appreciate you, Seven. You know, we may not fully understand what it all means, but we do appreciate you being here, and we know that everything that you're doing and saying is just to help us in our eternal souls. Johnny Turner says, "Eco?" with a question mark. Bender says, "Yes, Eco, first time playing for both of us. The bridge was such a..." Oh, yeah. I put my wheelbarrow and cart in the garage. Hey, that's awesome. That's a good place to put it. Yeah, Johnny, Eco is it's a Minecraft type game. There's no combat, which is one of the big things that draws people away from it. But Bender had the best description of it on Discord the other day. I can't remember what he said, but you know what? One day I told you to put that thing in Discord, and I never even read it. I will get to that here in a second. But anyway, Eco's a dope game, you know, especially if you play with people that you know, kind of like most games. You know, if you play with people that you know, then it tends to be a lot more fun. But it's very much like Minecraft. It's all about building. It's all about building a society and like upgrading from like, you know, like a primitive age to more advanced, like, you know, you eventually, like, you know, you start with like sticks and stones, only wood blocks, but eventually you learn how to like make brick and mortar and stuff like that. But the big draw of it is that the more people you have, it becomes more fun because you have to rely on each other because you only have a certain amount of skills. And all those skills, in order to get something for that skill, you have to have someone else build it who has a different skill. Like, for example, you know, my character is a hunter / butcher, a couple other skills. But in order for me to get the butchery stuff, like the butchering table, I had to have someone like Bender or Sarah build me a butchery table. So that kind of thing. That Eco is utterly beautiful. It's a good looking game. It is. All right, let me catch up on chats here. The Pie says, "The bridge was such a pain to set up. Same for me. This is my first time playing Eco. I just have more time than Mr. M and Bender." I mean, nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that at all. Oh, I have to put my canoe in the garage. Put your canoe in the garage. I'm careful there. Seven says, 7 wives is allowed and promised. Plus, it's the wives that choose the husband. They will not let go of you one day, Mr. M. You know, I appreciate that, you know. And like I said, right now I'm just doing the work. One day at a time said, you got to do the work, right? You got to become, like, I came across this thing, you know, I was into the red pill community thing pretty hard, like, especially right after my divorce. And someone was saying, hey, in order for you to find the proper wife, she already has to be a wife before you find her. And I was like, well, in that sense, it has to be the same way around, right? Like, in order for me to get the wife, I have to be a proper husband first. And that's kind of what really started this all out. Was I was like, yeah, I got to be a husband first, you know? So that's what I'm working on. And I'm getting closer and closer. Like I said, I'm starting to get those looks. I'm slowly building up the courage. I'm talking to ladies now. I'm still struggling with that next step. That whole, hey, let's hang out, let's get to know each other. I like you. You know, I don't know why it's so hard for me to just say I like you. And then Seven says, lots of children one day, Mr. M. Hey, you know, if it's and that's another thing too. If it's in God's will, which I believe it is, you know, I truly don't believe that God would give us a desire in our heart and not and have it be His will that it's not gonna happen. You know. All right. You know what? We're gonna do this. We're just gonna take the hits. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But he's almost gone. You gotta go in all out. Go in all out on these bosses. Bender says, work together to build technology to prevent a meteor from ending everything. Yeah, that's another thing I completely forgot. You have a certain amount of time to reach a certain technology level to where you can actually, because like at the very beginning of the game, when you first start a world, you see there's this giant meteor about to hit the world. And if it does, it's going to cause complete devastation. So you have to work together in order to stop that from happening. You have to prevent the apocalypse. Really solid game, like I said. I mean, if you're interested, look into it. It is pricey at $30, but it's more than worth it. I think I'm gonna go with feed. Yeah. Proceed. All right. One day at a time says, only met 2 girls who liked me so far, but life is long. Are you sure? One day, I'm sure you've met more than 2 girls. Those would just happen to be the 2 girls that maybe you made the right move, or maybe they made the first move, or whatever the case may be. But I'm sure if you look back on it, you can probably think of more times than not when someone was flirting with you, and maybe someone even liked you, and like, you know, maybe you were too shy to say anything. I know that's the case for me. Like I said, man, there's this one very pretty lady who started working with me today, the other day, and I started talking to her, and I was like, I found out, you know, she has a good paying job. You know, she's there as a front end at where I work, but that's a side thing for her. She actually has a really good job, and she lives alone. She likes to dance. I'm like, okay. I don't know if I want all enemies to start at the start of your turn. At the start of combat, shuffle 2 wounds into your draw pile. I don't like that either. I think I like that more than that. Or double the effectiveness of poison. You know what? We're going to go with Sacred Bark. Let's do that. One day says he never gives us more than we VA can carry. Okay, more than we can carry. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I truly believe, is that he never gives us more than we can handle. Johnny Turner says, might be the next game I get. Yeah, check it out. We got 30 days into it, or 90 days total. I think we're only about a week in. We have 90 days before the meteor hits, and then we'll kind of decide to go from there, like whether we want to start over or whether we want to continue past. I think I might be able to reset the meteor again, but you know, there'd kind of be no point after that. But let us know. The Pie says, yeah, for an early access, it's pricey, $30, but it's solid, and a game you can play solo or with friends or on a big server, so you can choose how to play. Yeah, and actually, I found out that when it first came out, I was watching this video, I didn't realize it was from 7 years ago, that it actually used to cost $40, and that was when it first came out. So like, you had like basically none of the features you have now. Bender says, I know of 3 awesome girls who were obliviously into me. Duh. Never figured it with any of those. High quality women. Looking back on it, so obvious. I'm old, BTW. Yeah, you know, it's one of those things. I'm sure if you look back on it, there's usually more than one lady who had her eye on you. It was just, again, being dumb boys. You know, we're like, you know, is she actually like us? Is she just being nice? Is she just being friendly? And that's the thing with ladies, like, you know, when they like you, it's very subtle. You have to be very good about picking up those subtle little things. I'm gonna read what One Day at a Time posted about 2 hours ago. Is God willing to prevent evil but not able? Then he's not omnipotent. Is he able but not willing? Then he's malevolent. Is he both able and willing? Then whence cometh evil? Is he neither able nor willing? Then why call him God? Wow, that's deep, bro. I'm glad you posted that on Discord because, I mean, that's basically the way that I think of it. You know, again, if he's none of those things, you know, I even go back to what Marcus Aurelius said, is that if there is a just God, then he'll understand the fact that we didn't worship him if we didn't. And if he's not just, then he wouldn't be worth worshiping at all. You know? It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one to get your head around. Especially all that stuff that you put up there about him being not omnipotent, them being malevolent. And why call him God? You know, like it's deep, man. It's real heavy. And like it's one of those things. I came across something, I actually have it in my notes here, where it's like, you don't test God, right? It's even in the Bible. It's in his word. Don't test him. Don't put him to the test. And I truly believe that whether you're an atheist, agnostic, diehard Christian, whatever the case may be, you don't test God, because that's a dangerous line to walk. You don't want to know what happens when you test him. But I don't think these kind of questions are testing him. I think it's just literally questioning. You know, especially because we don't truly have the answers. You know, like, yeah, we have the Bible, we have the scriptures, we have people to translate and stuff like that. But ultimately, we don't truly have the answers. So thank you for sharing that one day at a time. I'm sorry it took me 2 hours to get to it. 7 says, onion bloom monster, Texas Road. Damn it, I forgot the dipping sauce. I forgot the dipping sauce, 7. I apologize. Okay, I think I'm not going to go this way because that kind of limits us to what we can do. Is there man, there's a market, but it's way up here. But I kind of want to get to a market. So we're going to start with you. 3 relics coming out of Act 1. Got to get those numbers up. Yeah, I know, right? Absolutely. When I've been playing on mobile, I've been having a bit of a better time. Things are coming to me a little bit easier. We're going to upgrade that. 7 says, did you know you have to cheer your wives up for a year, written in Deuteronomy 24:5, long honeymoon, 7 wives, Mr. M, 1 day in Bender. You know, I mean, I believe it. Especially if you're going to be brave enough to have 7 wives, you're going to have to figure out a way to keep them all happy. And to that, I say, good luck, buddy. I don't plan on having 7. I only want 1. If I can get 1 beautiful lady who just likes me, that's all I ask. Is just a lady who likes me. Then that's really, I would be very happy with that. I only need 1. You know, and that's what I tell my clients and stuff like that too. You know, when I tell them, I was like, I get a little bit down when I think about it, a little bit depressed, a little lonely. But then I think about it, and I'm like, there's hundreds, there's thousands of ladies. I see so many of them throughout the days, especially when I go out to like my coffee shops and stuff. And it's there's so many beautiful ones out there, and I'm like, I only need 1. I only need 1. One day said if I was playing in front of a few people, it would throw me off a bit too. Oh yeah, you know, and especially because right now the game's not the primary focus of what we're doing, of what I'm doing, you know. Right now we're talking about things of the faith. We're talking about ladies. I think I'm gonna use this potion. Upgrade everything. That might not have been the best choice. But we'll do that. The pie says, yeah, I only need 1. I don't need 6 knives in my back or her. Yeah, absolutely not. I appreciate that God promised us 7, but I only need 1. Thank you. Remember, fellas, she's not yours. It's just your turn. Oof. You know what? It's funny because before I even heard of Arco, my boxing coach told me that it was a few years ago. He was like, you know, he was telling me about how he almost went to prison because of a lady that he was all super upset about. And he was like, why am I going to do all this? Because I missed my turn with the lady. And I was like, damn, it's kind of deep. That is pretty deep. And you know, I wish that wasn't true. I really do. But more often than not, it seems to be the case. You know, it's like a lot of us get into these relationships, and it's almost like the ladies have little to no interest. And then, especially once they're quote unquote not happy anymore, you know, they're willing to run off one day at a time. Says, I wish it wasn't true as well. You know, I mean, they're well, let me not. Okay, this might be a little dangerous for me to say, a little controversial, but you know, I've heard people say that generally speaking, men tend to be better people than women. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're treading on rough territory there, you know. But when you look at the numbers, it kind of proves it, you know. When it's like 80 to 90% of divorces, you know, 50% of marriage ends in divorce. 80 to 90% of those are initiated by the woman. And it's been true of everyone that I know who's been married. It was the lady who initiated the divorce. There was only one time that I talked to a dude who was considering divorcing her. I don't know if he ever went through with it or not, but I only met one dude who was considering a divorce. So yeah, it's one of those things. You know, I can't say that, like, you know, I can't say in good confidence that like ladies are worse than men. I mean, but it seems to be that they are far more willing to leave when things aren't going their way. The pie says women get to shop, men get to put themselves on display. Yeah, you know, that's true. And then, like, you know, it kind of goes back to the whole, like, why do men cheat? Because it's like, you know, it's like men have to spend their whole lives working to become a certain level, to become basically to a level where they can attract a woman. And, you know, whereas ladies, they tend to not realize it, but they have access to the whole candy shop, right? Like their whole lives. I mean, at least when they're young, you know, when they're younger ladies, they have access to the entire candy shop, whereas men have to work their way to get there. And then once they get there, they tend to go buck wild. And I mean, it's kind of how it is. That's just kind of how it is, you know. And I'm not justifying, you know, men cheating or anything. I don't think anyone should cheat. In fact, I'm against polyamorous relationships. I just don't think they ultimately work. Bender says, and through history, women are underrepresented and overlooked. Yes and no. I can agree with that. Bender says, not sure I agree with that. No, 100%. I don't agree with that. Like I said, I can't say in good confidence that men are better people than women, because, you know, especially doing what I do, knowing as many ladies as I know, you know, there's a lot of good ladies out there. There really are. You know, kind-hearted, empathetic. It's just, you know, like I said, they tend to want to run away faster. You know, when things aren't going their way, when they're not quote unquote happy. Come on, die, please. Damn it. Alright, we're gonna drink this because these birds are gonna kill me. These damn turtle birds. Through history, women are underrepresented and overlooked. I mean, you know, I don't know enough about history to agree or disagree with that one. I feel like especially in recent times, they have been far more represented. Damn it. But you could be right, through history they're underrepresented, you know, but is it that they're underrepresented, or is it that none of them could get themselves noticed, you know? And like I know that there's a time where it was like, oh yeah, women have to do it, have a certain spot in the relationship, and that's what they have to do. I don't know. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's a history thing that I need to look into. This book that I'm reading, The 12 Rules of Life, Jordan Peterson actually touches on that. And it's a fascinating read. I'm not nearly as articulate as he listen to me, as he is. So I don't want to put it out there, But, he did talk about how there's a lot of people, men in particular, who made big strides for women's sake. One Day at a Time says men sleep with who they can, but women sleep with who they want. Men marry who they want, but women marry who they can. Yeah, and that's absolutely true. All right. Yeah, we're gonna do the healing thing. Boom. It's absolutely true. And that's kind of why the whole women's sexual liberation thing isn't the greatest thing for women. I don't think it is. Especially because they get to a point where they're like, oh yeah, they do sleep with whoever they want, and then that makes them less attractive to the guys who they're eventually going to want to marry. And then they start pulling the whole, we were talking about it earlier, about how people want to live their certain lives and have people think the way that they do. I'll give you an example. There's a lady that I know that we were talking, she's very about, female liberty and all that stuff. She gets dressed up, goes to like swingers parties and stuff like that. Says she doesn't get involved with the swinging part. She just like dressing up, but I'm like, okay, whatever, lady. But we were talking about it one day, and I had mentioned, she was talking about the whole women being able to walk around without their shirts on. Let the nipples show. And I was like, first of all, none of us dudes, except for the ones that are related to you, your fathers, your uncles, your sons, are going to complain about that. But, the reason why a lot of dudes do fight it is because we know how other dudes are. Because there's certain men, especially like the more desperate, the incel-y type, the ones that actually hate women, they'll see something like that and they'll get the wrong idea. You're misrepresenting yourself. You're representing yourself in a different way. And some dudes will see something like that and they'll take advantage of it, And like us as men, we know that maybe because there's a little part of us that has that same idea. Maybe we won't act on it, and we don't want to see those kind of things happen to ladies. So that's why we're like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be walking around without your shirt on, because it could be dangerous. And I told her that. And she was like, well, yeah, is that how the world should be? And I'm like, no, it's not. But we also shouldn't live in a world where children get leukemia, or there's people who live like in Africa or whatever the case may be, who are struggling to make ends meet, who are struggling just to eat for the day. It shouldn't be like that. But just because something shouldn't be like that doesn't mean that it's not like that. And that's the thing, like, it's a whole expectation versus reality thing. Bender says, well, we do know of outstanding women through history, but I feel there are many particularly unknown. And, honestly, the same thing could be said about people of different race. Maverick even brought it up in one of our podcasts, where there's people who have been silenced. They've been taken out of the history books because of their sexual identity, because they happen to be gay or lesbian or whatever the case may be. So it's not just women, and that's kind of the thing. Like it may seem like it's that way, but when you put some thought into it, it's like, yeah, oppression has happened. There's probably still some oppression going on, but for one, it's not nearly as rampant as people like to say it is. But for two, the second thing is that, like, if anyone is oppressed, they're not the only group that's oppressed, But I hear what you're saying, Bender. I do. I'm not dismissing it all. The Pie says it's sort of a mix, to be honest. There's a lot of famous women who did amazing things just as much as men, and women both steal achievement from others. Yeah, and that's a very good point too, is that, I was talking to this very young lady at work. She's only 19, and she had mentioned about how, if we didn't have any men in the world, then women would be okay. And I was like, you say that, but I was like, look at how women are just as friends. And she was like, yeah, that's very true. She was like, I've dated guys who are like, oh, it's so easy for you because you're a lady to make friends and stuff like that. But female friends, I think, are some of the worst to each other, to one another. Like, for some reason, they always seem to be at this competition with each other, and they're so willing to talk shit about each other, like behind their backs and stuff. And it's like, I don't get why women are so eager to do that kind of stuff, the backstabbing. You see it in movies and stuff like that all the time, And it plays on the whole, that's how women go about life, whereas men, again, Jordan Peterson, I'm going to keep bringing him up because he's one of the greatest thinkers of our time. He mentions about how the reason why men, basically, if two men are having a conversation and it starts getting heated, they know that it's only going to go so far, because once it gets past that point, it's going to get physical and someone's going to get hurt. Whereas ladies tend to not have that view because they're not as physically inclined as we are. The way that women go about things is that they're more manipulative. Even Christy DM was in the chats the other day talking about that ladies tend to be more on the manipulative side of things, and that's just how they go about it. What I don't understand is why they're so quick to do it to each other, to their friends, Bender says, so very difficult to compare numbers like that. Yeah. I'm not sure which one. I've gone a long way, Bender, so I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. The Pie says, yeah, the myth of women not liking the tumble and the hay, she's there for that. One Day says, men get humbled by failure, women get humbled by time. Yeah. I heard this saying, and it's a pretty gross saying, but there's some truth to it. I would never use this, but the dude said that men age like wine and women age like milk. And I was like, that's really gross. But there's some truth to it, believe it or not. As gross as it is, I'm not saying it's right. But it's, I like One Days better. Men get humbled by failure, women get humbled by time, because it's sad because there's so many of these young ladies that are in these marrying ages, that are in these childbirthing ages, that kind of squander it, the whole female liberation thing. Then they get into their 30s, their mid 30s, and it's almost inevitable that they all feel it coming. And that's kind of when they get desperate, and that's when they start going out there and try to get these dudes that they wanted, that they could have had when they were in their early 20s. But they kind of squandered that time away. And honestly, I feel terrible for women for that. I'm so glad that I'm a guy. I'm so glad that I'm a man. Because in that way, it's better for us. I was like, because look at me, I'm 37, about to be 38 years old this year, and I've gone through some shit, but I can still make something of myself and still get the woman. And in fact, this is the time that most men would do it, late 30s, early 40s, that they make something of themselves and they get the woman that they wanted, the woman of their dreams. All right, we're going to do this because I need to heal a little bit. And then in the ladies' cases, it's not quite so much that, it's like, they get into where my age is, and it's not like things are over for them. It's not like they don't have any shot or anything like that, but it becomes much more difficult. They don't have the same options that they did when they were younger. And, I get called sexist and a misogynist and a chauvinist or whatever the case may be all the time for saying stuff like that, but it's true. It's true. It is the unfortunate part of life for ladies, and fortunate for me because I still have time. So as much as I struggle with it, with loneliness and stuff like that. Seven says, you got this, Mr. M. Bye monsters. Well, thank you, Seven. I appreciate you. Doing fairly well considering I'm not really paying attention. The Pie says, there was a lady who released a book recently, don't know the name, but it's basically a myth busting women in Europe from like Roman times to Renaissance, total crazy parties. They were just as bad and all that as men's myth with that stuff. Yeah, ladies have gotten, painted in this whole, sugar and spice and everything nice. But then when you break it down, they're just humans just like men are. They could just tend to get away with a lot more. It's just how it is. Johnny Turner says, yeah, suffering should not be a thing. And it was not until Adam broke that perfect mold and you cannot make a perfect vessel from a broken mold. Absolutely. 100%. Johnny Turner, I appreciate that input. The Pie says a lot of things here. Jordan Peterson's book is a good read. Not saying you have to agree with it, but it's a good read. If you let it, it will help you see things that are not so black and white. Manipulative and patient, talking about the way ladies go about world. The biological clock doesn't give a crap about your personal opinion on men, ladies. Yeah, absolutely. I've actually noticed a bunch of female literature, not sure how quality it is, but they like the thing of swearing off men to live forever sort of fantasy. Thing of swearing off men to live forever sort of fantasy. Odd that. So it could just be trash literature. Yeah, I mean, it could be. You know, I tend to have really strong opinions about these things, and it's not, you know, a lot of it's not really opinion. You know, a lot of it's things that I've researched, things that I've heard from, and like, you know, I've experienced, you know, not only myself, but, you know, plenty of other men and women, you know, that are in these situations. Like I observe, I listen very closely, I pay close attention to the things that are going on around me. I am getting whooped on here. Obviously, I don't pay enough attention to the game. Take that. Alright, I should be able to take him out this turn here, maybe. Not quite, damn it. Alright, you know, yeah, we are. So we're going to do this, we're going to end the turn. Damn you at 2 health. Yeah, Pi, I haven't heard that one so much being just a literature thing. You know, I've heard it being legitimate, where, like, you know, ladies do want to swear off men, or not even swear off men. They still want men around. The thing is that, like, a lot of them, again, not all of them, maybe not even a majority of them, but the ones that kind of put themselves out there tend to seem to want the advantages of being a young, beautiful lady that has a lot of options, being treated that way. But also have the advantages that men have. Oh, there's no way I'm beating the avocado. There's no way I'm beating the avocado on this one. You know, I don't know if it's so much trash literature. I think it's the way that feminism has gone is really what it comes down to. You know, this whole 4th, 5th wave, whatever feminism is, you know, where it's like, I want to be... Basically, I want all the advantages of a man have with none of the disadvantages. And it's like, we've gotten to a point where it's like, go ahead, you want to sleep around, you want to go ahead and, like, have 30, 40, 50 partners under your belt, go for it. But don't be surprised when you can't get the guy that you really want to settle down with you, especially once he finds that out. One Day at a Time says, a girl alike is about to call. I gotta go. Wish me luck. I had a great time as always. I'll keep an eye out if you're gonna do it again before Sunday. Awesome. One Day. You go. Good luck. Best of luck. Put it out there. Get it done. I dig it. Let us know how that one goes as well. Sounds like you got plenty of options right now. Catch you next time. Yeah, and like I really hope, you know, talking like this, I know it has come off as hateful, you know, towards ladies, especially to some of the ladies that I talk to that are around, you know, this demographic around my age, even a little bit younger than me. I'll be here till she calls, though. Hey, perfect. Not really doing much, just kind of mostly going through the motions. Fighting some showers, not growers. Or growers, not showers. There we go, the other way around. Some growing locusts. But yeah, I know some ladies have told me that it comes off as hateful and misogynist, and you know that's really painful for me to hear, because powerful couple of hours though. Yeah, I appreciate you. I didn't even get to my notes. I'm gonna have to do it later. But I appreciate you, and I appreciate you stopping by. We'll catch you next time. See you around in the Discords. The Pie says, especially here in the States, with the sheer amount of, well, propaganda going on about things. And then one day says, I was in the pool. I was in the pool. That's right. That's right. And you're about to get pulled right out. If not this one, then the next one. It'll be old girl from the corner store. Introduce yourself. Let us know her name, huh? Yeah, the Pie, especially here in the States, with a sheer amount of, well, propaganda going about. And it's not just here. It's most of the Western world. You know, it's here. It's the UK. It's a lot of these first world countries. You know, because if you go to third world countries, ladies, I mean, I even saw a video of this. She was a Russian lady, a Slavic lady, and she was saying that she couldn't imagine thinking like the ladies here do. I'm going to do that tomorrow for sure. Yes, sir. Let us know. It'll be a test. I'm going to ask you tomorrow when I take a break from work. I'm going to hop on Discord and be like, hey, so what's her name? And then you will tell me. And then somewhere down the line, you're going to be dating. But yeah, Pi, back to what you were saying. It's like, you know, it's a lot of the propaganda, you know, and I grew up with a lot of that, you know. I mean, there was a time in my life that I was a feminist, that I was very much against the manly thing and the manly way to go about things, even though, like, I still thought that way. Naturally, I thought masculine, but because I was told that way was so wrong so often by, like, not only the ladies in my life, like, you know, my family, but also a lot of the ladies that I hung out with. I guess I just leaned more towards these ladies because of that reason, because, you know, those were the kind of ladies that I knew, that I grew up, that I thought this was normal. And it turns out it's not normal at all. You know, in fact, the way that I thought, that I was thinking growing up, was far more normal. A strange blue humanoid with a golden helmet approaches you with a huge smile. Hello, friend. I'm a cleric. Are you interested in my services? The creature shouts loudly. I don't need the 22 heal, but I will remove a card. And then I did read somewhere that you should get rid of these strikes, because those are, generally speaking, the worst cards in the deck. The Pie says, yeah, it's definitely a Western world problem. I just say the States because it's the one I can sort of say the most about. Yeah, absolutely. I agree, 100%. You know, it's where you are, it's where you grew up, it's what you know. So that makes sense. And I know what you mean. I say the States too. You know, I just put it out there that it's not, you know, everywhere. Or more like, we're not the only ones dealing with them. Get the starter cards out of here. You's absolutely right, my friend. Get them all out of here. And, you know, it's kind of an epidemic. It's pretty sad. The number of ladies that I've talked to, it's kind of gotten me a little bit down. I'm not going to lie. Because I've talked to so many ladies who they just don't want kids. Most of them that I work with, a lot of them that I've talked to outside of work, they're just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna be, you know, a pet parent, or I'm gonna take care of my mom until she dies, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna, you know, have a bunch of cats. I'm gonna travel the world is the big one. A lot of them want to travel the world, even though they haven't even started that process. And I'm like, what's going on here, man? When did this happen? Like, when I was growing up, it was always, that's what ladies wanted to do. They wanted to get married. They had their dream wedding and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like most of them are now not into that idea anymore. And it's like, I would ask what happened, but I kind of know what happened. One day at a time. Remember that time Bobby Boucher showed up at halftime and the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl? Bobby Boucher. The Pie says, LOL, nice reference. Bobby Boucher, that was the water boy, right? And she showed me her boobies, and I like them. Yep, water boy. Water sucks. It really, really sucks. And I hope, you know, any ladies who happen to be out there listening to me right now, well off the topic of what we started here. But if you're out there and you're listening, don't think that we hate you. Don't think that there's any kind of malice. It's just, to be honest, like, we're tired. Men are tired. And another unfortunate thing too is that there's more and more men that are opting out of dating now. You know, because the approach is too hard, or, you know, they've gotten turned down too many times. In fact, a lot of the times, I'm right there too. I'm like, man, should I even keep trying? And like, if so, why? Like, it's so hard. You know, ladies don't make it easy. Gatorade. And you know, funny enough too, this all goes back into the whole biblical talk too, because you know, if you look at the Bible, it even says it in there at the very beginning, go forth and prosper. And like, kind of like Bender was asking, I did say, Bender, that I was going to get back to this. What do we put on this earth for? I do know that if you last name must go on, don't give up, never give up, trust your instincts, says Peppy the Hare from Star Fox. But yeah, Bender earlier asked, why are we here? What's our purpose for being here? And to me, you know, I've always thought, ever since I was little, even before, you know, I got into the Bible or anything like that, I was like, I think the reason that we're here is basically to reproduce, is to make more babies. You know, as much as, and like people are like, you know, they scoffed at me, and of course I was a lot darker back then, so I was like, the whole reason we're put on this earth is to reproduce and die. You know, and yeah, and like Johnny says, go forth and be fruitful. Yeah, go forth and multiply. That's the whole reason that we're here. Is to make more of us, and not only that, but to make more of us and give them a better world to live in than we live in currently. You know, because if you ask any parent, like I even talked to my mom about this one day, I was like, any parent worth their salt, worth their weight in salt, is going to want a better life for their children than they have for themselves. And that's really why I think we're here, is because we're supposed to reproduce, and we're supposed to make this world a better place. The Pie says, no, one lady did bring up a good point, and I don't disagree with her, but she also is a mom and loves being one. But her thing was, women have to be selective. They carry the results for 19 years, and actually more than that. It's more than 19 years. You know, I was like, I am damn near 40 years old, and I still call my mom whenever I don't have someone to talk to, whenever I'm going through something rough, and like I kind of lay it out on her. You know, I don't give it to her too hard, because you know she's a busy lady, and she's got her own things going on. But you know, it's still to this day, and all four of us, we still call her and like kind of lay our problems out on her. So it's not just 14, it's not just the 19 years. It's for life, really. I mean, if you're a good parent, anyway. And I don't disagree with that at all. Women should be selective. You know, for many reasons. You know, and that's part of the problem with the whole sexual liberation thing. Is what is that? Preserved insect? Yes. How'd you know me? Enemy elite combats have 25% less HP. I will take that. Then we go rampage. Again, not really paying attention too much. But I agree with that, Pie, 100%. That ladies need to be selective, because them especially, like, as we've gotten along in the in society, we're actually able to hold men more accountable for their actions, for their part in it too, with the whole child support thing and stuff like that. Of course, like anything, it's gotten abused, and things are starting to make a shift again. But ultimately, ladies are the one that have to bear most of that responsibility, and that's why we keep saying y'all need to be more responsible. And again, that's why it goes back to we need fathers in the home. We need good fathers in the home. To show these ladies that that's exactly what they need to be doing. And this is the part of Christianity that I do like, is that, they preach all this stuff. It's like fathers are supposed to be the leaders of the home. I think it was my ex's mom said that it's the opposite gender parent that shows the kids basically how to choose a partner, right? So it's like if you have a good, strong father in the household, he's going to show his daughter how to pick a good man, and how a man's supposed to treat her. And, with the rise of single mothers, that's not so much happening now these days, In fact, there's a lot of these single moms who they'll raise their kids, all with all the love and stuff like that, but then they get to a certain point where their daughters end up becoming their competition, and it's like, what are we even doing at that point? Like, that's gross. I've seen a lot of these like videos and stuff like that where it's like the mom and the daughter are competing for the same guy, or in some of the really gross instances they're sleeping with the same guy, whether they know it or not. And that's just brutal to me. That's just gross. 18 debuff repeat. Okay, yeah, I got you. The process for the Ocarina Spider, the way he goes about things, I appreciate that. Wasn't paying attention. The Pi says, "Oh right, I was gonna say women that might be watching this later are still here. Probably would have some helpful addition." That's what I was going to say. Yeah, absolutely. And like, I am all for hearing the lady side of things, because I'm a dude, and again, I'm a dumb guy. I'm a young dumb guy. I'm just a stupid boy. And having the ladies' input it's always a good thing, which is why I really started pushing against the red pill thing, because I was all red pilled for a while. I was like, yeah, screw ladies, they're the problem for everything, yada yada. I almost became an incel myself. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, this just doesn't sit right with me. It really doesn't. It doesn't resonate with me. Apply 3 week and vulnerable to all enemies. I think I'm gonna skip this one. Skip. That was probably a mistake, but that's okay. We will live with it. One day at a time says, dude, going on 3 hours. What a sudzi? 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 What the hell's a sudzi? Damn, I meant to write sussy bak. I still don't know what that means, but I'm too old for that kind of stuff, I guess. Johnny Turner says, I'm 43 and I still see and speak with my parents daily when we meet for dinner. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just it's not just the 18 years and then you can move on with your life. I mean, you can if you're a real douchebag, if you're a real shithole of a parent. But I can tell you this, and like at least in my mom's case, my father and I, we have a different relationship. Let's just say, put it nicely. But fortunately, I have my mother there, and we talk all the time, and like she'll vent to me about her problems and stuff like that. But mostly it's me venting to her, just trying to figure out life and get her advice on stuff. Because she's an incredibly smart woman, and she's been through some stuff, man. She raised 4 of us in the hood. So if there is any lady whose opinion that I trust, it's definitely her. And she doesn't want to see me hurt. She wants to see me the exact opposite of hurt. So she's gonna tell me like it is. The Pi says, yeah, that's not the way. It's like far right and far left here in the States, taking things way too far. The middle ground is usually the more, balanced way. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And a big part of the problem is that regardless of where you stand, The people on the extreme end are, if you don't fully agree with them, are gonna push you to the other side, which is terrible. It's a terrible thing to do. But that's been my experience more often than not. I'll admit it's been more often with the left side pushing me to the right. But that's probably because where I live. I live in Colorado. A lot of people here are very left-leaning. It's hard to find people that don't lean super far left. But when I tell them, I'm like, you know, they ask me what I am, which is like, you know, not even something that should be coming up really more often than not. But they're like, oh, you're one of those, you're far right extremist, and I'm like, I'm really not. In fact, sometimes I think I'm closer to left-leaning than I am right-leaning. But you know, it's like the moment that you disagree with someone, they just kind of shut down, and they're so willing to put you in this box, and that's becoming a problem, and it's part of the King Circus. You know, it's all done by design. It's all done to keep us distracted from the actual problems at hand. One day at a time says, Encel equals no way. No, absolutely not. Ugh, yeah, I'm gonna have to get going soon. I'm starting to yawn. Absolutely not. Like I said, I almost did it several times, but mostly I was just angry. Mostly I was just angry, and I was like, I'll do that. And I was like, what's wrong with these women? You know, I wanted to just like shake some sense into them, until I realized, I was like, it's not the women, it's everyone, it's society. The Pie says, nah, political stuff is private and should really be so, but so many people have to drag it out like there's some Star of David to wear on your sleeve in the 1920s Germany. Yeah, it really is though. I mean, and you know what, I don't think that it should be all that private. Same thing with religious beliefs. Honestly, the same thing with finances. You know, I think what it should be is more acceptable to have your own ideas. All right, we're gonna do this to not fully agree with the crowd is what it should be. You know, because it used to be that you could have a friend, you could have a bunch of friends who all thought differently than you, who were all different religions, who were different politically wise. They voted for different people, and it was like, okay, well, this person does that, and they vote this way, and I don't agree with them, but we could still be friends. You know, we could still get along. And it's not like that anymore. And honestly, I mean, the Pie, as much as you say you shouldn't have gone there, it's pretty true, because that's how it becomes. It's like people are so willing to put you in those boxes that it becomes scary. It becomes like oh, you don't believe in what I believe in, so that means you should be in a concentration camp until you believe what I believe in. I was like, well, wait a second. wait just a daggum second. The Pie says, well, private if you desire, I guess. But yeah, we shouldn't have the ostracization of beliefs like we do now. You know, and I agree. One of the things that I found about a lot of ladies, at least out here in Colorado, is, give me a second. We meet again, the cheery, devilish fellow approaches you gleefully. You do not know this man. It's me, Ronwind. Have any goods to sell? The usual? A fella like me can't do it alone, you know. You eye him suspiciously and consider your options. I could lose a skill, I can lose gold, or I can lose Reaper Plus. What's that? Oh, that's a card. Or I can attack him. I think I'm going to lose some gold and get a relic. What'd you give me? Letter opener. Every time you play 3 skills in a single turn, deal 5 damage to all enemies. Magnificent! This is quite handy if I run into those mask-wearing hoodlums again. He rummages around in various pockets. Here, look at what I've got for you today. Take it. Take it. And we leave. One of the things that, kind of like I was saying, that I found, at least out here in Colorado, is that a lot of the ladies are so quick to spout out what they believe. They don't necessarily ask me what I believe, but it's like, I'll give you an example at work. I started working. I work at two different places. It's the same company, but two different locations. And they like I'll talk to these ladies, and like within the first conversation, they'll instantly be like, "Oh yeah, there's too many Trump supporters out here. There's this and that." And it's almost always Trump, but they're like, "Oh yeah, too many Trump supporters. There's too many Trump signs." And it wasn't a one-time thing. It was 5 of them said it. First conversation, the first or second conversation, don't even get really past the, "Hey, how you doing? How'd you get into this?" They're like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Indiana, and there's too many Trump supporters out there for me." Or like, someone was talking about going to Mexico, New Mexico, and she's like, "Yeah, I kind of like it out there, but there's too many Trump supporters. There's too many Trump signs." And I'm like, my God, like we can't even get 2 conversations in before you start spouting your political views, Yeah, believe what you like, and we'll debate if you wish. That's why we gain a better understanding of our brothers and sisters. Absolutely, Johnny. Absolutely. That's why I think we should be more open about these kind of things. But it just shouldn't be so dogmatic. For a lack of better terms, I know dogmatic's a religious term, but that's really kind of how it is. It's like, again, if you don't believe what I believe, or if you vote for this certain guy, if you lean politically the certain way, then that means you and I can't get along. And it's like, to me, that's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous and so closed-minded. He gonna do some damage to me. And it gets dangerous, because like, yeah, maybe it starts off where they start shunning you. But if it continues the way that it does, it will get to the concentration camp type level. That's why I tend to, or at least I try to, speak my mind as much as possible. But when I'm in these situations, especially when I'm massaging someone, I keep my mouth shut. I have to, because I don't want to lose my job. I don't want someone complaining about me, and then I'm gonna have to get a write-up or something, or whatever the case may be. So work is a completely different story. But outside of work, I'm like, bro, y'all don't know what you're talking about. End it there. I don't know how good my cards are stacking up here. Let's see what we got going on. Coming up to the end of the stream here, because I'm starting to get tired. My voice is getting all crackly. Starting to yawn and all that stuff. Yeah, work you sort of have to lean away and just do what needs to be done. Yeah, especially when you're outnumbered. I was like, so many of the kind of people that I work with definitely lean towards that direction. And it's like, I guarantee you, if I say something, that it's just gonna end up being a problem. So I'm like, I keep my mouth shut, I bite my tongue. The pie continues with, it's one of those things where it's not just you that could get in trouble. Not that I think it's fair, but it is what it is. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why, I was doing that podcast with Maverick, because I was able to get these kind of things out, into the open, talk with people who are more like-minded, because, his entire following, as far as I know, are, conservative, and sometimes maybe a little too conservative. Because there is a thing, you can go extremist either way. And I don't like the extremes of either. In fact, I talk to my my therapist about it regularly, and she's like, extremism in either direction is not a good thing. It can lead to some serious problems. That's exactly what I was hoping for. The anger. And you know what, Pi? It's not fair, but life's not fair. You just kind of got to pick your battles, you know. You got to pick your poisons. All right, let me see. We got to do something here. Yeah, we're gonna do this. Play a rage. And that's basically gonna equal out all the damage that we're doing. All right. And I want to thank you all, let you know I'm appreciative of you being here. We got 7 viewers still, which is a ton. 13 likes. I appreciate you guys being here. And letting me get this stuff off my chest. Bender says, tonight was great with Maverick stopping by, and I'm so glad you guys have not split. Respect. Yeah. You know, I honestly thought things were way worse than they are, than they appear to be. And I'm very grateful, you know. In fact, when I decided to do this, I was hoping he would stop by. Because I was like, I really have no hard feelings about how any of it went down. It sucks it went down the way that it did. But again, it was my fault. You know, 100%. I take full and complete accountability for my end in it, for not being who I truly am, for representing myself the wrong way. And that was one thing that I had really considered. I had really thought. I was thinking about it. I was like, you know, this kind of stuff keeps happening to me. You know, mostly with ladies, where it's like something goes down. And I'm like, why? Why? Like, why is this a thing? I was like, is it something that at first, you know, I was like, you know, looking at what happened with my other relationships and stuff. I'm like, is it them? Especially because they were ladies, and I'm like, are they just being unreasonable? And I thought about it. And eventually it came down to, like, you know, it was actually this morning that I realized it. That I'm like, it's not them being unreasonable. It's me not representing myself and then going into... What's the word I'm looking for? Not representing myself and then, like, coming off as who I really am later on, you know. And then that takes people by surprise. Not only that, but, like... not communicating what I have to. Johnny Turner says, looking rough. Yeah, yeah, I know. I don't think I'm gonna be making it out of this one. This one's not gonna do anything for me because he doesn't have any debuffs. I have no way to heal myself, so we're just gonna end the turn there. Hopefully. Bender says, aha, but you handled it very well, both of you. Just bad luck with the ladies. Screw 2023, bring 2024. Yeah, and I mean, there's always going to be that bad luck with ladies. You know, there's always going to be a thing. There's never not going to be a thing. Okay, well, we got a lot of anger. But he's going to do 16 damage. I got to chill if I have any chance of doing this. Unfortunately, the deck that I built this time around was just not optimal. Oh, and now I get a rage. Better late than never, I guess. I think he's gonna take me out this turn, though. Ooh, 3 left. Good lord. You are 0 for 2. The odds are in your favor. I appreciate that, Bender. Alright, 13 damage. Okay, I gotta do 22 damage. I'm gonna do 7 damage, 8 damage. That's only 15. Dagnubbit. Alright, but he's not transforming. I got a chance here. I really do have a chance. Destroy, destroy. Oh yeah, he's mine. Oh, look at this. Talk about a clutch fight. Check this out. We got 0 for 8, 0 for Aisha. Bam, 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 with 3 health. Look at bam, 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 bam. Oh, I want it. I want it. I motherfucking want it. Dang, good job. Yeah, that was clutch there at the end, boy. I didn't think I was gonna make it. I'm gonna get demon form here, as per one day at a time's requests. Find our new relic. Skin of the teeth, but a win is a win. Hey man, I'll take it. That W is a W, right? Elites drop an additional relic when defeated. I like that. 2 wounds. I don't like that. At the start of your turn, future card rewards have 2 less cards to choose from. I think I'm gonna go with elites drop an additional. Although I won't get my choice of cards, but I don't have great cards as it is. At least not great synergy. We're gonna go with that one though, because I like the extra energy, so we're gonna give that a try. As much as I would love to keep going, I have to get out of here. I'm starting to get tired. I need to give me a little snack. Been at this for a minute. Much longer than I thought I would. 3 hours. That's about right for me. But yeah, I want to thank you again all so very much. Let me see what we got. I'm gonna reset this just to make sure the likes and subscribes and stuff, the subscribbles come back up. Turn that up. Turn this music down. That was a very close one, that last one. That was a good one to end on. You know, I'm very glad I went live tonight. I wasn't going to go live. I was going to go do something else, but I'm glad I did not. Yeah, let's see. Let's check up on the votes real quick and see what people had to say. I think it's about the same. Yeah, 53% say yes. So I mean, that's a good amount. That's actually a good amount more than I thought would say yes. But we got 6 viewers, 13 likes. Yoop, 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 yoop. With them whoops in chat. Whoop, 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 whoop. 15 voters. I dig it. I dig it. I love every single one of y'all. Thank you so much for stopping by and helping me get this stuff off my chest. I still have my notes I gotta go through. Matthew 1 through 5. I'm probably gonna read another 4 or 5 chapters tomorrow. But we'll see what's up. Bender says, great stream, 2 in a row. I agree, you know, I'm digging this game. I actually got it on mobile. So I did pay the $10 and I got it on my phone. The exact same game. And I've been getting more practice. Not that it's really helping me all that much. But I'm getting the practice in. Again, this game is on sale for $8.50. I think it's $8.49 on Steam. I have the link below in the description. If y'all are interested in grabbing it, I most certainly would. But I'm going to go ahead and head on out. That's it for me, y'all. Let me do because I'm an extremely professional streamer, I've already had this all set up. Hang on. Hang on. There we go. There we go. All right, y'all. I'm out. Peace. That's a good point, Bender. See ya, Johnny. See ya, the pie is a lie. See ya, Bender. I'm assuming one day at a time is on his phone call with his new girlfriend. Christy DM. Abba7. And anyone else that I've missed out there. Hopefully not. Meaver. I know Meaver stopped by. Peace out, everybody.